Hello and welcome. I'm Giovanni Hall Art. We're gonna continue where I left off last time. We're gonna keep going, work on this sketch some more, probably clean up some bit. Yeah, we'll go from there. Also, be listening to the same podcast team we left off last time from Rotten Mango. Let's go.
An unbelievable story, right? Maybe, perhaps. I mean, a few things definitely don't add up with what the police found at the crime scene. A lot of things don't add up at all, and some parts of the story just don't make any sense. It's just nonsensical. But who's gonna argue her story? Both victims have been shot. Oliver's not opening up. In fact, he's fighting with every random excuse in the book to not leave Eastern Europe, and it's just Lucy, the credible daughter of a wealthy business tycoon in Canada who has millions of dollars at their disposal to hire the best defense. Who's gonna tell them that this story isn't true? Regardless, the truth of the matter is Tyler was shot 6 times. He was murdered. Jordan was shot 3 times. Only one bullet hit her, but it went into her heart. She was supposed to die that day, but she didn't. After spending 3 days in a coma and a bullet taken out of her chest, Jordan wakes up. And she's got a lot to say, mainly that Lucy is a big phony liar. She states that she remembers everything that happened that night very clearly. 3 days ago, February 28th, 2021, Jordan remembers showing up to the warehouse with her boyfriend, Tyler. Tyler and Jordan, were going to meet with this couple, Oliver and Lucy, where they were going to see if this warehouse was a good fit for a business opportunity, to rent it and use it as a marijuana growing operation. But when they get there, the realtor isn't there and all the doors are locked, which is very annoying. They have to wait for the realtor now in the cold. Tyler and Jordan get into the Range Rover to wait. They turn on the heat. Jordan is in the passenger side. Tyler, her boyfriend, is on the driver's side, turns on the car for her. And then he waves over Lucy and is like, hey, come sit down. It's cold. So Lucy slides into the driver's side. Jordan says Lucy won't even look at her. She's just on her phone. She's texting, but she's acting very nervous. It's like the lack of eye contact is a little bit strange. It's not even like she's distracted or just bored. It's like she can't even look at her. Jordan tries to make some light talk. How's your weekend? Good, fine. What did you do? Nothing, we drank on Thursday. Then Lucy just states, oh my God, you're dressed so pretty and I'm dressed like a bum. Which, now that she says it, it is weird. Jordan is thinking Lucy told them that they have dinner reservations after this warehouse for 4 at this fancy restaurant. So yeah, now that she brings it up, she is severely underdressed for that. But Jordan is polite. She doesn't say anything. Jordan just says, but when she comes into the car, she just can't look at me, which I thought was strange. Eventually, she gets out of the car, and now my car turned off because the driver's side door had closed. So I guess the car thought it was off or that everybody had left. So she slides. She doesn't exit the car. She just slides over from the passenger seat to the driver's seat while being inside and turns the car back on. She said that's when she looks up at the side, and at the passenger side window where she had just been sitting, Oliver is standing there, glaring at her, pointing a gun at her. And she said, I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, my mouth was wide open, he's pointing a gun at me, he was shaking and his eyes were bulging, and then he says, get out of here, Joe. But I guess he doesn't give her the chance to do that because the last thing she remembers is gunshots going off. Jordan said she heard Tyler's last words, and Tyler had said, Oliver, what the bro? So Oliver had shot Tyler. Jordan's first instinct is to put the car in reverse to try and get out of there. But as she's flooring it, she hears multiple gunshots additionally go off. She had been shot. The car slams into the warehouse, reverses. There are clear holes in her memory from the trauma, but she does remember seeing Oliver dragging her out of the car and throwing her onto the cold floor. And they both drove off. They drove off in the Audi and the Range Rover. That was Jordan and Tyler's car. And then she just remembers crawling on the road on her hands and knees, asking for anyone. Is there anyone to save her?
She's still conscious.
Yes, and she had been shot literally in the chest. Yeah, and she says it took an hour. And then finally she just heard a woman and her voice kept saying, hang in there, sweetie, hang in there. That woman was Annette Bright. The woman had been driving down the road with her boyfriend when she saw what looked like a mangled animal on the side of the road with blood. She just kept driving, but something in her told her, just U-turn. If it's an animal, fine. You can call animal control. If it's something else, it just would keep her up at night. So she U-turned, and what do you know? It's not an animal. It's a woman on the road crawling. She parks the car, lunges out. What happened? What's wrong? And she just keeps saying, help me, please. I've been shot. She could see Jordan is getting paler by the second. Annette's boyfriend is already calling 911. The woman on the floor keeps talking, but the only thing Annette could understand is, help me, help me. And then she faded out into a coma that doctors were feeling very pessimistic about, that she would never wake up again. The worst part of Jordan's story is that while she was crawling down the long driveway of the warehouse to get help, she could see her Range Rover driving back and forth on the main road with her attempted killers scanning, hunting. So it's presumed that they came back and she was gone. Jordan is gone. So they're like, how is she gone? We shot her. How is she not dead? So I think she had crawled into the bushes, and she just remembers seeing them driving around looking for her, practically hunting her. She also said that she could hear them fighting and arguing. She could hear one of them saying that, no, for sure she's dead. And the other one said, well, we just need to make sure.
Wow.
After about an hour, they leave without finding Jordan, and that is how she's able to get help. Which, who is Jordan, and why would someone even want her dead? Why would someone kill her boyfriend, the father of her unborn child, Tyler? Tyler can make up to $1 million a day, running what seems to be a cocaine empire. I mean, I don't know if empire is the right word, but $1 million a day, that's not a side job. That's corporate monopoly level money. Jordan says Tyler was not a, quote, street level dealer. He would help import cocaine into Canada and sold it to other dealers. So he's at the top of the food chain, if you will. But she says they weren't in as dangerous of a position as the street level dealers because one of them had been killed once, but Tyler doesn't really have enemies. He's just overseeing and profiting and helping smuggle in the cocaine. Side note, a quick disclaimer, Tyler is a murder victim and absolutely nobody should be murdered. I think that much is very clear, but it would be a bit strange for me to not address the fact that his occupation is likely indirectly harming a lot of people. So it's just very tricky.
I want a premier who cares about me and my neighbors as much as I do.
Every day all across this province, I'm inspired by people, and you deserve a government that inspires you too.
My hair has always been straight, but with like a slight wave, a bit of frizz, some dried ends, which according to TikTok means naturally wavy hair that just isn't treated right. So I took the pros quiz and it told me my exact hair type and what products would help my hair lean into its natural form. My custom formula is perfect for slightly wavy hair. It's like definitely more moisturizing than straight hair products, so it gives me some nice like volume and shine, but it's not as heavy as curly hair products, so it doesn't like make it greasy and weigh it down. Just gives me like perfect natural waves that stay all day. I can't even think about how much time and money I would have spent on trial and error products in order to figure this out. Pros truly just handed me perfect hair on a silver platter. Okay, I'll stop. Try Pros though.
Now, Tyler was trying to get out of this underworld business. He keeps trying to use his funds to create legitimate, hopefully tax-paying businesses, a diamond company called Hard as Diamonds, as well as a wellness weight loss supplement brand called Elite Organic Nutrition. Jordan would say he just wanted out of the cocaine life. We wanted to have a family and be normal and escape that negativity. He just wanted to be a more legitimate businessman, especially since he has 3 children that are growing older, and Jordan, his longtime girlfriend, the one who was shot, is pregnant with his 4th child. She's 14 weeks pregnant. So a more legitimate business would provide a sense of security for everybody. Now, Tyler and Jordan have a friend who introduced them to a guy named Oliver Knox. This rich kid with rich parents, but his parents are also very powerfully well connected in Europe, was the story that they were told. And he has all these businesses that integrate European contacts with Canadian contacts. And this is during the pandemic. So Oliver's new business plan is they know people in Europe who sell hospital gowns, syringes, and face masks, mark up the price by a ton. That's how they describe it, since hospitals need it right now, and it's just printing money in Europe. They're just printing money. They have a factory in Europe that makes it, then they sell it to the European hospitals. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for investors.
Like a Okay, medical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tyler and Jordan invest at first $170,000, which is a lot. But eventually, in total, they invest about $500,000. Crazy. Now, Jordan says, we were expecting millions in dollars of profit. After our initial investment, we put in the 170, then another 300 to get more trucks so the money would come in faster. We wanted to roll the money, which looked very feasible. Their share of the profits would be close to $3 million. Now, this is the part that they're struggling with, is bringing that money in from Europe to Canada without raising a bunch of red flags. Because once you bring that kind of money in, first of all, it's difficult to transfer that amount. But secondly, once you bring that into Canada, it's going to be heavily taxed. And third, once they tax it, they might be like, how'd you get this money? You explain, oh, I invested in this mask business. How much did you invest? $500,000. How did you even get $500,000 when your tax returns show that you don't make any money because they're not making legitimate income? It's not an easy transfer. So the day of the shooting, the couple were going to meet Oliver and Lucy at the warehouse, and Oliver had this new business plan, find a warehouse. Lucy would be perfect. Her mom has lots of connections, and they own lots of warehouses, and they have powerful realtors that can get them a good deal. Then they start a legal marijuana growing operation. And from there, I'm sure that Tyler can get more of his money out. Maybe he'll get more of the profits of that, and Oliver and Lucy will take the European profits because it's easier for them to get the money into Canada. You know, that's why they showed up to this empty, abandoned warehouse in the middle of this industrial street. But the problem is, Oliver has no plans to pay the couple back, let alone give them a share of their profits. In fact, Oliver Knox is not Oliver Knox. His name is Oliver Carafa, and he's already killed someone before.
What?
Oliver tells lots of lies. The first about being the mask business. It's unclear whether or not Oliver himself is in the mask business or if the entire thing is also a lie. But one thing is for sure, he's not giving Tyler his money back. He starts making up all these excuses on why they can't get the money back. And every question Tyler has, there's a long-winded explanation, long-winded excuse. Even the meetup at the warehouse, not real. To lure Tyler and Jordan out, where Oliver shoots them both and goes on the run with his wife, Lucy. They flee the scene within 48 hours there in Europe on the run as international fugitives. They are not located for 3 months. When Lucy finally comes back home, Oliver does not. Yeah. When they're both arrested in Hungary, Lucy comes back immediately. She does have to fly commercial, but nevertheless, she comes back to Canada. Oliver does something fascinating. He files a petition with the courts in Hungary stating that if he goes back to Canada, because the Toronto police are so corrupt, there will be no way he will get a fair trial. They would do something shady. He argues to Hungary. His life is on the line. Oliver Carafa has no plans on going back. He even hires PIs to look into Tyler Pratt to show the Hungarians, like, hey, look, there's a lot of drug dealing going on in Canada and they're going to kill me. The gangs are going to kill me in the prison. You don't know the prisons in Canada. Yeah, he says, because of his extensive criminal connections and his associates want to avenge his death, my life is in danger. He alleges he will never get a fair trial. Hungarian authorities relay back. Criminal relationships are not bound by national borders, which means that the accused would not be safe in practically any country in the world. The court therefore establishes correctly and lawfully that the conditions of the extradition have been met and orders the arrest for surrender of the accused. AKA, he's gonna get extradited. But then he tries to stop that, and he's like, Slovakia, my home country, can you please try and help me? But that doesn't work either. 8 months later, he's sitting economy with Canadian officials. It's likely that his whole plan to stay in Europe was not because he truly believed the Canadian justice system is corrupt. I mean, how could he? He got 5 years for killing someone before. We're gonna get there. But allegedly, it's been said that he believes Hungary would have been an easier place to bribe corrupt officials. And Canada is harder. Lucy did not care. She did not like the prisons there. Her mom does a press release when she's back to Canada, and her press release is the family is shocked, disturbed, and puzzled by Lucy's involvement in the tragic incident. They state that they are sure that Lucy would not be involved in such an incident voluntarily and would not do such a ridiculous thing. They say, we can hardly imagine the shock and anxiety Lucy experienced after the incident. They beg Lucy to cooperate with the authorities. Which, yes.
So Oliver killed Tyler because of money?
Yes.
But Lucy is rich?
Yes. That's also her defense. So now we're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Is she involved? Is she not involved? Right? Now, side note, Lucy talks about her time in a Hungarian prison while waiting to be extradited. She said every single day she was only given 5 slices of bread and 5 cigarettes. No other food. She said everything cost money there, even sanitary products, and she didn't have money to be put into her account. Now, I don't know how Canadian jails compare, but she's not someone that's going to withstand any sort of prison because she does make Canadian bail somehow. The bail conditions are probably the most rigorous I've seen. The conditions are this. Lucy will be allowed on bail for $2.7 million. Her bail is paid out $2 million by her mom, $200,000 by her friend, and another $500,000 by another second friend. Now, I thought that was weird because, first of all, that is very crazy for a friend to put up that kind of money. Now, another thing is, why wouldn't her mom just pay it all if they're so wealthy? There's a reason, because under the rigorous bail agreement, Lucy has to be under watch 24/7 by whoever has participated in putting up her bail. They practically become her guardians. If she has to go to the doctor's appointment, it has to be with one of her 3 guardians. She cannot have friends over, but she can have her 3 guardians over.
Wow.
She cannot go to social engagements, but she can stay with her guardians 24/7 and hang out with them. So it's likely her mom didn't want to babysit her the whole time and Lucy wants to be with her friends. One of them even moved into the family home to, quote, watch over Lucy. In addition to those rules, Lucy has to wear a GPS tracker at all times. She cannot have any visitors in the house other than immediate family. She can leave her house for exercise with her ankle monitor on, but she can only go within a 1-mile radius of the house at all times and only for up to an hour per day. The only time she can go further from a mile is when she has a court-approved medical appointment or to see her attorneys. That is it. She cannot even use the cell phone. She cannot use the internet without supervision from one of her guardians. And lastly, she cannot apply for a new passport, which honestly doesn't sound so bad when you're quarantining in your parents' likely multi-million-dollar estate with your 2 besties, but she still breaks bail because before the trial starts, it stated that she went to a party. She was rearrested and then re-released on bail again. But
With her ankle monitor, she went to a party?
Yeah.
Wow.
The trial is going to be a joint trial with both Oliver and Lucy on trial for murder and attempted murder. And so there's 3 arguments, one from Lucy and her team, one from Oliver, and one from the prosecutors in Jordan. Now, Lucy gets a high profile defense attorney. The Oliver's defense attorney, he's a really good defense attorney allegedly for getting drug dealers off, but not for murder. So it seems like he's way less high profile. And Lucy's family did not pay for his attorney or anything. So there's a lot of speculations by netizens that if they had the same attorney and had they stuck with the same story, they might have gotten less time. Yeah, so you got the 3 stories from the prosecutor in Jordan and then the 2 other lovebirds that are no longer lovebirds, it seems. Now, Lucy's story changes multiple times, which is not the best look. The first time she shares her version of events, she states that a random stranger, a third party, showed up and shot the couple. It was crazy. It was probably one of Tyler's enemies. Then she later changes the story to say that, no, you're right. Oliver was the shooter. But I had no idea that it was going to happen. I thought he ran Tyler over. It was crazy. And then she says that she was forced to write the initial confession that an unknown man had shot the couple by Oliver, by her husband. He was like, you better write this. She states about her husband, his business wasn't going as planned. He decided it would be best to kill Jordan and Tyler before they found out and tried to kill him or someone he loved instead. Sort of like a pre-planned self-defense that she had no idea about, which also just pre-planned self-defense is the most unhinged defense. I don't know. She said by that point, he had told her all of that. She didn't even know that Tyler had invested in Oliver's PPE mask business. She said she knew nothing about Tyler and Jordan. In fact, she would never want to do business with them because they're not, quote, presentable people. She claims Tyler is very, very terrifying. He was not happy that he's not getting his money back. She said Tyler was violent with Oliver, punching and abusing him. He would allegedly threaten him. If you want to turn me into the police, I have friends in the police. Before I even get booked within 48 hours, I'll have the Somalians kill everyone you love. During the initial interrogation, she's asked, so right off the bat, you're not impressed by Tyler.
Right off the bat, I say do not associate with these people because they're not good for our social image, and because she's a known Hamilton stripper, and Tyler is known in Vancouver as like a scary gang member, according to some mutual friends that I knew.
This is during interrogation?
Yes. Furthermore, she states that Tyler had this big business idea that he was trying to rope them into, which they would bring girls in from the Czech Republic to Toronto and Vancouver to get into the escorting business, which, for lack of a better words, she believes sounds precisely like human trafficking. Now, we don't know if this conversation even ever took place, but that is her claim. She said that she would even get into fights with Oliver about how much she doesn't like this couple. She said, I really didn't want Oliver to be associated with them. He knew my opinion and started not telling me when he was going to meet with them. He would downplay their communications. She further alleges that Tyler and Jordan have ties to the Wolf Pack, which is a big gang in the area. And when everything went down, she felt like it was an I told you so moment. She testifies later during the trial. Tyler is very, very scary and very aggressive. He scared me. He's a very big man and very scary.
I'm so sorry. What is that I told you so moment? The murder?
Yeah, like telling Oliver I told you not to interact with these types of people. Yeah.
Like this will happen if you keep murder is gonna happen.
It's just
Like what?
her energy throughout all of this is on par with someone maybe getting into an argument.
She's
with
so
people.
detached from the real world is the
Yes.
feeling. Feels like maybe she growing up, she has never faced any consequences.
Yeah.
So her attitude is literally this lighthearted.
And I think the way she speaks about all these things that happened, it's almost this very firm, I don't know where it comes from, belief that everyone's just going to believe her and be on her side. Like everyone's on her side. I told them, don't you agree? It's kind of that attitude is the vibe.
Wow.
And the prosecutors are not on her side. They ask her on the stand, you've been telling us how dangerous you thought it was being around Tyler and his gang connections, his drug dealing. But given that fear, you invited him into your family home? Well, it's not as high risk as being seen with them in public. She thought seeing Tyler and Jordan was worth the risk if the business would turn out well for Oliver. But now in hindsight, she says, quote, I guess I made a mistake. The prosecutors ask her, 3 days before the murder of Tyler Pratt and attempted murder of Jordan Romano, you were part of a plan to kill them, weren't you? No, I was not. What you are saying is ridiculous. It's hard to imagine doing something more despicable to a pregnant woman, correct? Correct. You lied to her face, correct? Correct. The prosecutors tell her, the only pattern that has emerged is your ability to lie and deceive and be dishonest. This was a carefully planned murder. Not correct. She states, these people were dangerous. They were trying to kill us or something like that. I agree that there was a murder plan, but I don't agree that I was part of this plan. You don't have a moral compass. Incorrect. I think my moral compass is not right, but I'm not okay with breaking the law and committing crimes. And most importantly, I would never be okay with a plan to commit murder. Her attorney argues the motive for the murder at the end was money, but her attorney argues Lucy did not need money. She comes from a rich family. This is Oliver's problem. This is not Lucy's issue, which is just another way to say your client is broke and mine is not. But does it actually prove anything? She also states about the PPE business, the mask making factory in Europe during the interrogation. I have no idea about any of that because Oliver and my relationship, he deals with the finances and the business, and he doesn't really... I mean, he tells me the gist of things, but he never really tells me the figures, what he's doing. And it's always been like that since me and Oliver's been dating. We've been together almost 3 years, but we knew each other since high school. She also argues that she does not have the best relationship with Oliver. Honestly, it was toxic. She says, I was practically his chauffeur.
How long they been married?
At this point, about a year and some change. The way they got married... Okay, so 2020, the pandemic hits. 2 months after the whole world goes into lockdown. Eastern Europe is in lockdown. They're like, you know what? I don't like being at home. Let's go to Europe and have some fun. So they're trying to fly into Europe, and Europe is like, no, we are not accepting anyone who does not have a reason to be in Europe. However, Oliver can go because he's a dual citizen. He's Slovakian and Canadian citizenship, right? But Lucy is just Canadian citizenship. So they say, the only way that you'd be able to get into Europe right now is if you guys were married. Then because he can go, he can bring his wife, obviously. So in the airport, they apply for a marriage license. They get a Zoom call with an officiant, get married so they can board their flight to a fun European trip while everybody else is fighting for their lives and people are dying.
That is wild.
Lucy is also asked why she wore a blonde wig on the way to commit murder. I mean, this was very clearly an attempt to conceal her identity in the elevator to throw investigators off because she swapped her SIM card to make the SIM card look like she was at home. Then the elevator footage does not show Lucy going down to the parking lot. It shows a blonde woman going down to the parking lot. So she could argue, what do you mean? You don't see me leaving the apartment. My phone records are in the apartment. I was in the apartment the whole time. That's what the prosecution's arguing. And Lucy is like, that is ridiculous. The truth is, the wig was from a brand deal that she got on Instagram. So this company sent her a blonde wig and she would wear it while she had intimate relations with Oliver at times. But she got into this huge fight with Oliver the day of the shooting, because she felt like Oliver was always cheating on her. And when she had seen it out and about, not tucked away, not packed, when she saw it out and about, she just assumed that he was going to bring this wig to go cheat on her and have another woman wear the wig because he's got like a fetish for these wigs, is what she's claiming. So she's like whipping the wig around, asking him what the hell, but he argues with her like she's always crazy. You're always making up stuff. She loses it, completely loses her marbles, throws on the blonde wig. She's like, yeah, you like blondes? I don't know. Okay. But she like puts it on. So I'm assuming that's what she's claiming her energy is, and leaves. Kind of like, oh yeah? How's this?
Is she leaving by herself?
Yeah. Oliver takes the stairs down 35 flights, 34 flights.
How did she explain his behavior walking 34 flights?
She said, I don't know. He's weird. Everything is like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know anything about him. He's weird.
So when she's walking into the elevator, you saw the footage,
Yes.
right? Like, was she hiding? Can you see her face? Or
You
was it...
cannot see her face. She's wearing the blonde wig. She has a hood pulled over her head. She's on her phone and it's just weird.
Like she's like hiding her face, right?
Yes, and I imagine if I were ever in this bizarre, likely untrue situation where we got into a fight and I wore a blonde wig into the elevator, I would snatch it right off when I got in there because I'm angry. I'm like huffing and puffing, but she's just like, her body is tight. Her arms are close to her chest.
Yeah.
And she's just standing there in the corner looking down.
Wow.
She said that she was expecting him to chase her into the elevator, but he did not. That's the story that she's trying to sell. Yeah. I mean, later she changes the story and she's like, okay, fine. I put on the blonde wig because Oliver told me to do. And I just did what he told me to do. Yeah.
And you're saying all of this is under the guidance of the famous attorney?
Yes. So there is an allegation or rumors out there by netizens that sometimes rich clients are the worst because they never listen to you. They think they're smarter than you. She should have just not said anything.
I see.
Likely.
Yeah.
I have a feeling she wasn't listening to her attorney's advice.
Yeah, because she was asking like, who should I trust?
Yes. And then even
my attorney told me not to talk to you, but I'm here telling you what they told me not to say.
And she just, yeah, she would always like stop herself and then be asked a question and then she would kind of talk and then stop herself. Yeah.
Wow.
Even all the different houses they stayed in Europe, in Eastern Europe, she said she thought that these were all police who were helping.
Don't let your weight bring you down. These insoles are here to get you moving. Have you heard about Acusoli? These are the cutting-edge orthopedic insoles that people look forward to using. Yes, orthopedic insoles are beneficial for relieving foot, knee, hip, and back pain. And they're perfect for people who deal with such problems as foot inflammation and flat or pronating feet. But why should your insoles be boring, ugly, overpriced, and something only your cranky doctor would recommend when a new, modern, and affordable solution is changing the orthotics landscape right now? Introducing Acusoli, the revolutionary magnetic orthopedic insoles that fit any shoe, while also preventing foot pain and conditions like plantar fasciitis and flat or pronating feet in 9 distinct ways. 1. The innovative wave-shaped arch support distributes pressure evenly across your feet, improving your body's overall alignment and aiding conditions like inflammation of the plantar fascia tissue, soreness, and tingling. 2. The ultra-soft cushioning absorbs pressure to protect your heels and joints from the impact of walking all day. It keeps your feet energized, the connective tissue relaxed, and fatigue-free. 3. The three-way heel support provides extra stability, so you can walk confidently. 4. The flexible and breathable material adapts to your foot shape, providing comfort and support, and prevents unpleasant odor thanks to anti-mold and antibacterial technology. 5. The unique patented magnetic technology. Akusoli is equipped with carefully placed magnets to provide a constant gentle massage. 6. Acupressure cushions. This unique design feature targets the most important parts of the feet, relieving foot fatigue. 7. The antimicrobial silver coating helps combat bacteria buildup and overall odor. 8. The advanced cushioning system ensures the insoles retain their shape and comfort throughout their use, providing a superb wearing experience. Finally, 9. Akusoli's design is based on ages-old Japanese holistic health wisdom. The carefully placed pressure points correspond to specific parts of the body. Now, here's the deal. We've got a special announcement for you. Only the viewers of this video will receive a unique 70% discount on their pair of Akusoli insoles today. 70% off together with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So click the link below and visit akusoli.com. This 70% off deal is only available for a short time. So choose your size and secure your order now. The demand is skyrocketing. So act fast to get your Akusoli insoles delivered. Click the link below and claim your special offer. Time is ticking, so what are you waiting for? You're going to love them.
Super Prof helped Freddie find Pete get back into guitar. The result? 0 wrong notes. These two are in perfect harmony. Find the perfect teacher on Super Prof. Choose from millions of tutors worldwide, rated by students for online or face-to-face lessons. Find your Super Prof on superprof.com.
Hide them because, I mean, it's like she's on some sort of crime thriller series getting moved around from safe house to safe house in a global network of safe houses to shield her from, I don't know what. It's a very odd story that she's selling. And Lucy does try to make up for all of it by stating, yeah, maybe I'm just dumb. Yeah. Her attorney continues, Lucy is one of the many victims in this case, betrayed by her husband, Oliver. Oliver is the type of guy that takes her to a murder, takes his wife to a murder he knew obviously he was going to commit. Lucy finally developed a bit of a backbone after spending years being Oliver's doormat. Oliver has had far too many victims in his life, including among the many victims is Lucy. I ask you not to let him take one more down. Oliver's attorney has a different strategy. While Lucy can blame everything on Oliver since he was the one that pulled the trigger, Oliver's defense has to be a bit more creative. They say, we do not dispute in any way that he pulled the trigger on the gun that shot Tyler Pratt and Jordan Romano, aka he did shoot them. He killed Tyler, but the defense attorney argues this is not first-degree murder. What Oliver did should be considered second-degree murder. He just wanted to, quote, tame a violent, angry, volatile, muscular, international drug dealer. He argued that Tyler had threatened to break his legs if he didn't get his money back and more ASAP. And their whole defense relies on the fact that Tyler is this big, scary guy and Oliver was too dumb and too scared, so he killed him. They say the shooting is so poorly orchestrated, it doesn't meet the threshold for first-degree murder. The defense attorney basically states, riddle me this. If what seems at first glance to be a plan so badly thought out that it falls apart because so many obvious things were not considered, that indicates there was no plan to begin with. The attorney argues that one of Tyler's close acquaintances had recently been gunned down in Vancouver. They also state that Jordan and Tyler had gotten into an explosive fight 5 months into their relationship, where the attorney alleges that Jordan allegedly told others that Tyler had physically harmed her. So they're just trying to paint the victims in this horrible light the whole time. They say, and Jordan even said, Oliver told her, get out of here, Joe, moments before shooting her. So clearly he didn't want to shoot her. It's just, these attorneys are doing weird stuff. And why? Instead of killing them right away, why would they wait 30 minutes? Why would they spend 30 minutes with them at the warehouse before the shooting? His attorney states about his wife and her defense team. You know, throughout this trial, Lucy and her team have attempted to do everything they can to demonize Oliver in your eyes, to make you hate him. It has been relentless. To which Lucy's attorneys have stated, yeah, he does not need any help in that department. Oliver's attorneys asked Lucy why she didn't just tell this version of events when she had that interrogation with the authorities. And they say, here's why you didn't, Lucy. You wanted some time to make up a story. It's taken you 3 years to make up a story. Because the trial happened 3 years later. But if it is true, let's entertain the idea that Lucy's newest version of events is true. Oliver's defense wonders, why would she stay with Oliver in Europe throughout all of this then? The state argues there's no way you can look at this and see something other than a more planned murder. The plan isn't smart. No one said you have to be a smart killer, but you are a killer at the end of the day. This is an outright execution. They swapped SIM cards. They wore a wig. They took the stairs to make it seem like they never left their apartment. They actually purchased a new car. The Audi Q5 was purchased a week before, and they didn't change the license plates. So when they found the Audi Q5 later, the authorities, it got traced back to the original owner. And they were like, you are doing something suspicious. And she's like, well, no, I just sold the car. Then they tried to sell the Audi, but they didn't, along with the Range Rover. And once they realized that Jordan is still alive, they fled the country. Just to add to their cruelty, they state that Lucy and Oliver stole $20,000 in cash after killing them as well. So from the crime scene, they took $20,000 from Tyler's car. Additionally, it's very clear that Tyler wanted his money back, but not in an aggressive way. They state that Tyler was having cash flow problems because a cocaine shipment was seized at the border. So Lucy had to write them a $1 million check from her mom's account and said she's so rich, she won't even notice the money is gone. But they had no plans of getting that check cashed.
Who has no plan?
Lucy and Oliver is what the prosecution's arguing. Like, they have no plans. Like, they're not going to let Tyler and Jordan even have the chance to cash that check because they're going to kill them. It's just to buy a tiny bit of time.
I see. Okay, got it.
So they're like, okay, fine. Like, all that money that you invested is tied up in Europe, so here's $1 million. Yeah. The Crown says, honestly, Lucy is a big freaking liar. They tried to go through every single thing she lies about, but it's a lot. So for example, at one point said she had no clue her SIM card had even been swapped. Unbeknownst to her, she just took her phone and left the house. Turns out her SIM card had been swapped. Yeah, but then they found text messages between Oliver and Lucy a few days before the murder, and they're texting about Chin. Oliver texts him, Chin said he can lend me his son, which sounds like an autocorrect for Sim. And that was 3 full days before the murder, to which Lucy argues it's an inside joke. Son is a nickname that they have for another friend who was supposed to drive him to the meeting that day. Which the prosecutors tell the jury is, quote, an elaborate story that's quite ridiculous. You don't have to be the world's greatest detective to figure this out. 2 days before the shooting, there are messages between Oliver and Lucy where Oliver says, I hope those R words have money. They find it chilling that the day of the murder, the two of them are seen in the apartment elevator together, acting like nothing's gonna happen. They're like playfully pinching each other's cheeks. One big evidence of premeditation is Oliver tries to sell the Audi and Jordan's Range Rover weeks before killing them. Like, imagine trying to sell a random acquaintance's car without their permission.
Yeah, I think you're done.
You're done. Like, what would be the reason for that? The prosecutors argue, what other possible reason could you have on planning to sell Jordan's luxury Range Rover that she had no intention of getting rid of unless you believe she wasn't going to be around to have a say?
I mean, that also just shows they're genuinely not smart. Like,
no.
They planned the killing and they're genuinely that dumb.
Yeah, because their defense is like, no, they're so dumb. There's no way they planned it like this. But it's, no, I think they're so dumb that they did plan it like this.
Yeah.
It's just evil. Like, they're dumb and evil.
Yeah.
And that's a very scary combination. Lucy testifies during the trial that the prosecutors had stated she planned and deliberated what would have been a double murder. And she responds, I mean, that's ridiculous because I would never kill anybody. I would never be part of a plan to kill anybody. I would never be okay with a plan to kill anybody. If I had known, I would have put a stop to it. I married a man who shot not just a woman, but a pregnant woman as well as another guy. And I missed so many red flags and I continue to be in love with him. And I really feel like an idiot right now. She states throughout the trial that she was on the other side of the warehouse when it happened and she didn't know anyone had been shot. Yeah, except Jordan testifies. No, she wasn't. She was standing right there in front of the car when the shooting happened. I'm in the driver's seat. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. And Oliver is staring at me. The prosecutors ask Lucy about this. And they say, what Jordan said is the truth. And you know it's the truth, don't you? No, I don't. Furthermore, a detail that prosecutors find interesting is a week prior to the crime, the couple purchased that Audi, right? Mm-hmm. And that was using Lucy's money. She purchases the Audi for Oliver. But get this, Oliver does not have a license. So why would she buy him a random Audi conveniently a week before the crime when he's not allowed to drive? He doesn't have a license. It doesn't make any sense. Side note, he can't drive because a while back when Oliver was 19 years old, he was drunk driving and this personal trainer of his named David Chang was in the passenger side. He was going double the speed limit, crashed the car, David Chang died. So he was sentenced to 5 years for reckless DUI that ended in manslaughter.
That's like the case we just talked about.
Yeah, and he got 15 years of not being able to drive and 5 years in prison, which is absolutely nothing. So he can't drive. Why would she purchase an Audi for him? If they have no plans to murder anyone, what would be the reason of purchasing an Audi? She already has a Mercedes. It doesn't make sense. Lucy argues that Oliver told her it was for his flipping car business where he buys cars and ships them to sell in Europe. And she said that he promised to pay her back for it. The prosecutor says Lucy presents as someone with a carefully crafted script, willing to say or make up just about anything to distance herself from every aspect of this plan. Not only was she aware of the plan, she was part of the plan. She was an active participant. The prosecutors state, it is because of Jordan's strength and her courage that you can see the real Lucy and Oliver past all the lies. Perhaps without her surviving, they would have gotten away with it.
That's true.
But she did survive. Jordan states she was in a coma for 3 days. She lost her baby. She has severe nerve damage everywhere. The recovery lasted months of excruciating physical pain where she couldn't even move without someone helping her. Anytime she wanted to sneeze or cough, because it was in her chest. This is dangerous. She can't just sneeze and cough like a normal person. Her mom has to hold a pillow down to hold her body in place. She had fake bones implanted into her chest. She has scars all over her breasts and her stomach. She had to relearn how to walk and even stand. She says, I live every day with anxiety and PTSD. I was so angry. I think the worst part was mourning him. She said she and Tyler were like one person. That's how close they were. And she lost him. She was angry. She says, to hear he suffered.
We tried everything, but Charlie still struggled with math. Then another mom recommended IXL, a learning program that really worked for her daughter. We thought, why not? Let's give it a try. With IXL, not only does Charlie get extra math practice and guidance, but he's also able to explore other topics and skills he's interested in. So if you're wondering if IXL is right for your child, I would say don't wait. You'll see a difference right away.
If you're still not sure about trying leak-proof underwear, we need to talk. These are not your average.
Suffered in the most gruesome manner makes me shake to my core. She said, yes, he was in the cocaine business, but he wanted out and he's kind. He has an even temper. He was down to earth. He always put his children first. But even then, she said the first day of trial, she was terrified to be in the courtroom with the couple. The last time she saw them, they were hunting her down in the Range Rover. Jordan states, it's crystal clear, Lucy was involved. She states, and I really liked Oliver. He was always so nice and caring. Tyler loved Oliver. It was a great friendship. He adored him. We considered them really good friends, and that's really embarrassing. It was all fake. It does seem like Lucy is involved, but I think most netizens are confused on why.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if this matters, But this was an interesting comment that was posted by God knows who, so take this as seriously as you would take a hedgehog with a fedora on. This could be made up out of thin air, pulled out of someone's grass. One comment claims that they personally know Lucy, which anyone can post this on the internet without knowing Lucy. But they write, I knew Lucy for a few years, right before she got with Oliver again. She's rebellious, and these things totally get her excited. She's always had money, but she wanted trouble. It was never about money. She did it because it made her feel good. That's why I distanced myself from her. Lucy's sisters are normal, but she's like a different breed, and has always been. I totally believe she planned this with Oliver. There was another internet rumor that Lucy allegedly, unconfirmed, whispers in the air, could be made up by anybody, but it stated that she would do this thing where she probably had lots of wealthy friends, right? And she would steal their expensive designer goods, but not to use it. She would steal it and then immediately trash it, allegedly. Which is so weird. I don't know if this is true. Would it be for the thrill? Would it be for the power of it? I don't know. Again, not proven to be true at all. But if it were, I think that's the only insight I could have maybe been able to put together. And again, it might not even be true, right? Because I don't know why she would be involved. Now, side note, it does seem like Lucy's character is confusing. Her morality is all over the place. Her attorney just attacks Jordan the entire time. He states Jordan is not a trustworthy witness in court because, well, she has questionable morals. Sir, he essentially goes on to state that with the mask factory that they invested in Europe with Oliver, their whole business model is to price gouge hospitals during the pandemic while people are dying so that they can make a profit. So he's like, do you really trust someone who just cares about money like that? The defense attorney also asks, does that make her a good person? Then he states to Jordan, you let a fairly big drug dealer fly under the radar. That makes you part of the problem. Don't you see that? Jordan would later state, we wanted to have a family and leave that negative stuff behind. Then they tried to discredit Jordan's version of events, stating that while she's truthful, she's unreliable because of the trauma that she faced. Which, yeah, but because of who did she have to face that trauma is the question here. What kind of question is that? Oliver's defense states, despite being there, Jordan cannot describe how Oliver shot Tyler, yet she clearly remembers Oliver telling her to get out of here, Joe. Lucy's attorney states, Jordan has a moral compass so far off it should concern the jury. They keep bringing up the fact that Jordan claims to be a good person, but she was living in luxury off of the cocaine money and how she used to be a dancer, which I don't know, sir, with all due respect. What about your client? What's going on there? I don't think we can have a morality competition with anyone here. The state argues Jordan has been an open book and a consistent witness. She may have helped Tyler live off-grid and benefited from his work, but no matter what you think of her lifestyle, it does not diminish her credibility. Jordan states, throughout this trial, the legal teams have made Tyler out to be a scary monster, but you guys are the monsters. Side note, it said that during the whole trial, Lucy would look over her shoulder and smirk at Jordan the whole time. Yeah.
Dang.
I don't know if that's true, but it's out there.
Do you know if the mom and the family was there, present?
Yes, but they never went up onto the stand. The mom showed up in a fur coat and designer bags.
Wow.
Yeah. She does look kind of scary. I don't know. If Insang, Korean first impression, she looks intense. Yeah. Everybody's family showed up. Yeah. Tyler's family, Jordan's family, everybody was there. The jury takes less than an hour to deliberate. They were found guilty. People actually started cheering in the courtroom when the verdict was read. I think nobody likes entitled, spoiled people slut-shaming and shaming others when they're literally on trial for murder. I mean, the whole thing is frustrating. In Canada, a murder verdict is automatic life in prison with 25 years served before parole eligibility. And Canada's actually pretty good about releasing people on parole. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be there for life. The judge looked at the two defendants and said, it was an outright execution. It is difficult to imagine a more calculated and planned murder than what was conducted.
Do we know Lucy's reaction in that moment? Or
she just looked kind of stoic-faced and a little upset. The best part was when Lucy was being dragged back in by the authorities because she's going to prison, Jordan said, bye, Lucy. And Jordan says because of how intense her trauma is, she is terrified of cars and loud noises. She said she was driving one time and she felt this insane PTSD anxiety where she felt like Oliver and Lucy were driving, chasing her, and she got into a car accident. For the first year of recovery, the only way she could fall asleep was to drink alcohol. And she looked at the couple when she gave her victim impact statement and she said, the honest to God truth is, I'm not angry at both of you, nor do I want to avenge you, which would be a normal thought for a woman who has had a child and boyfriend taken from her, as well as a lifetime of PTSD and anxiety. You have both inflicted on me. What I actually feel is sorry for you. I feel sorry that you threw away your lives for a lousy $470,000. It's pathetic. I remember exactly what you did to me, how you preyed on me and Tyler for weeks. My scars are a daily reminder that I survived what was meant to destroy me. My hope is that your lives will be nothing but a cold jail cell with the same jail food, and the worst part of all will be you alone with your own ugly thoughts. You will have to face your own evil self every day. But my life doesn't end here. It's just getting started. Yeah. During the trial, forensic pathologists stated that Tyler did not quickly pass. They say his wounds would have taken anywhere between 2 minutes to 2 hours. The judge stated he was left wounded and was alive possibly for up to a few hours after being shot, with no aid, no assistance being called on by the two offenders. Tyler's mom has stated, we've gone through a devastating time. We've lost a grandbaby through it, as well as our son. Tyler was a phenomenal father and a talented entrepreneur and someone who was continuously driven for excellence, just very hardworking. They said it was hard to listen to him being labeled as this dangerous criminal when he can't even be here to defend himself. For the past 3 years, Tyler's dad has been trying to get justice, and he's been wearing his son's shoes every day for 3 years. And now that the verdict has been reached, he says that he will put the shoes back in the box because it was the closure he needed. And Lucy and Oliver are now appealing their convictions. And Jordan is suing Lucy in civil court as well as Oliver. So that is where the case is right now. What are your thoughts? I mean, why do you think Lucy was even part of this? It doesn't make sense. I just don't understand the psyche behind it. It doesn't even seem like her mom was going to cut her off. I think her mom has a lot of pressure that she puts on her children, but I think the children play the part well. I think Lucy played the part well, and I think as long as she kept playing the part, I don't think her mom had any plans to cut her off. Because I don't think that would have even looked good for the family, which it seems like her mom cares a lot about. I mean, I don't know them personally, but just from the few interviews I've watched of her. It's just weird. What are your thoughts? Why would she get involved? Let me know in the comments, and stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.
This hike, it's no picnic. Treacherous terrain, takes a whole day.
Sure, some crummy old mountains that are fishing for 2 weeks sounds just swell.
Well, you don't have to go. The world is not going to give them a break. Neither should I. There she is, Mount Katahdin.
We're gonna hike that?
Sure. You're almost men now. Don, slow down.
You want us to be men? Then let us be men. We don't need you.
We're going to the top.
We need to stick together!
Bada bing, bada boo.
There was this rumor going around in the K-pop world. If you want your favorite artist to do well, you have to buy their albums from these 2 specific retailers. It's like a hack. But they're all typically...
Bada bing, bada boo.
There's something called a Buddha house in Ethiopia. It's where people go to seek protection and healing. The main objective at these Buddha houses is to ward off the evil spirits or the disease-causing evil eye. They focus primarily on traditional medicine, and on a daily basis, these Buddha houses, they open their front doors and there's all sorts of people coming in. People with illnesses that doctors cannot even pinpoint or perhaps even cure. People with strange new hallucinations forming. Or sometimes people involved in very mysterious accidents, like 7-year-old Heaven. Her little body appears very crumpled when she's carried in through the Buddha house's front door. They're asking what happened. I mean, they need to know so that they can even try to heal her. And the general story seems all over the place. I mean, she's brought in by her neighbors who try to explain, well, we don't really know what happened, but here's what we think happened. At the entrance of their house, all of their houses, they have this bar. It's like about the height of an adult. It's a wooden bar. And apparently the kids in the neighborhood, they would swing on that bar all the time. Just swing back and forth like they're doing pull-ups. She must have been swinging when she fell and hit her head. And she's not responding now. Look, there's cuts all over her body. I mean, that looks like she would fall and maybe scrape herself on a branch, right? Pieces of wood, rocks. It's not completely unbelievable. And it's true, there's lots of rocks around that door. She must have hit her head on one of those. Her little 3-year-old sister had found her laying on the ground outside their front door. She didn't even understand what was going on. So she went to grab a family member, a 15-year-old girl, so just kids. And she tells her, look, Heaven's outside playing. She's sleeping. The 15-year-old is confused by this. She runs outside, sees Heaven on the ground, puts her hand on Heaven, and by this point, Heaven is cold. She's screaming. This 15-year-old is screaming for all the neighbors, all the adults to come help. And now they've rushed little Heaven to the Buddha house to be healed. Heaven is 7 years and 7 months old, but she looks closer to 5 because of how tiny she is. And the healers could just take one look at Heaven and they knew there is no healing to be done. This little girl is already dead. But the questions now are, if she had fallen so hard that it killed her, wouldn't she have fractured a bone? Wouldn't she have broken a bone? Or if she hit her head on a rock as she came down, wouldn't she have bled a lot more? The only blood that they found on her body was on the back of her dress is this tiny tear-sized blood droplet. When Heaven's mom finally sees her 7-year-old daughter's body, she finds something very odd. The little girl's mouth, there's something inside of her mouth. It's like sand. It's actually more like cement. It's sand mixed with water to make this very thick mixture. And there's even pebbles inside. And it looks like she just has a mouthful of cement. What do you mean? So she's falling and she just eats a chunk of cement? It doesn't even make sense. On top of that, she has a full handprint around her neck. I mean, you could see 5 finger markings where someone had dug into her little daughter's neck. You cannot say that's from a rock. How could the neighbors try to even tell her that this is a result of her falling off a bar? How could they argue that her mouth had to be filled with this sand so that she could be healed? They said that is healing sand. It feels like everyone is in on this one big conspiracy of what happened to Heaven. Nobody will tell Heaven's mom what actually happened because this is not the truth, clearly. And Heaven's mom is on a journey to figure out what the hell happened to her daughter. We would like to thank today's partners who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Abraham's Oasis. They are a non-religious, local, legally registered nonprofit in Ethiopia that provides medical care, food, and a safe haven for lost, abandoned, separated children in the aftermath of the war. Additionally, there is a change.org petition for Heaven and her family that we will be linking in the description, so please check that out. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we would also like to thank you guys for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. A few disclaimers before we get into today's case. This is a highly requested case. I tried to do all the research in English and it just wasn't working. So we worked with a wonderful Ethiopian translator to help gather the source material for today's episode and fill in the extra needed context. But as always, if there is anything mistranslated, miscommunicated, or any additional information you may have, please leave it in the comments. A few disclaimers: there are mentions of CA, CSA, and descriptions of a brutal death of someone under the age of 10. Please always prioritize your mental health and well-being. Stay safe, and if you can't handle today's episode, take a walk. We'll see you in the next one. With that being said, let's get into it. As a custodian for the bank, there's a few rules that you have to follow. Most banks operate on a buddy system. Nobody is opening or closing the bank by themselves. Unlike other businesses where they tell the employees, hey, go park at the very back of the parking lot so that the customers can park near the front, bank employees are typically told to park very close to whichever exit they leave from, likely the back exit, in a well-lit area of the parking lot. More often than not, if they're closing down the bank, they leave through a man trap. It's where, typically at the back of the bank, they have a back door. You exit out that door, then lock the door behind you. But instead of being outside of the building, you're in this small little box, and there's another door in front of you. You unlock that door, walk out, lock it behind you, and now you're fully outside. This is to make sure that on your way out, no one barges their way into the back of the bank. A man trap is added for extra security. Being a custodian for the bank is not the most well-paying job. I mean, she used to be a nurse for 7 years, but this is safer. Mainly because there's security cameras everywhere, and so she thought, that way, if someone comes for her, if they try to kill her, at least it'll all be caught on camera, right? 4 months into her job, she's helping close up the bank. She's walking out into the dark parking lot when the security guard stops her. What's wrong? Is that car picking you up? Are you waiting on a car? She wasn't. She looks around, and in the darkness of the parking lot, she can make out a car with these few young, bulky men, that's how she describes it, just standing around the car. And she's squinting to get a better look. She recognizes one of them. It's the one that escaped from prison, the one that essayed and murdered her 7-year-old daughter, Heaven. Heaven's mom had just clocked in as a scrub nurse at the local hospital. This is before Heaven passed. This is before she works at the bank. She reaches into her pocket and she's going to put her phone on silent, which is her very normal routine during surgeries. Because she's a scrub nurse, she can't touch her phone. She can't turn off the ringer if it goes off. But something in her tells her, what's the point in turning it on to silent? Nobody calls her anyway while she's at work, and she's basically at work all the time. Let's just keep it on. She scrubs in for surgery. They're working on this man who has a fractured shoulder from a fall. It must have been a pretty nasty fall. His shoulder is looking rough. And all of a sudden, ding, 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 ding. Her phone starts ringing in the middle of surgery. I mean, this is exactly what she was supposed to avoid. She let it ring because she can't touch it. She's starting to sweat. The doctor is staring at her like, hello, why did you not silence your phone? And then it stops. Then it starts again. She says at this point, one of the other nurses comes in, grabs her phone from the pocket, leaves the operating room, and picks up the call for her. She is informed it's an emergency. You gotta leave. Her daughter is sick. Heaven's mom remembers thinking in that moment, first of all, my daughter rarely ever gets sick. Second of all, she just saw her this morning. She was the one that woke her up. Heaven was like, Mommy, you gotta wake up. You're gonna be late for work. Come on, get up. She was full of energy. She would have noticed if her daughter seemed even a little bit ill. I mean, she's a nurse. On the doctor's instruction, Heaven's mom runs out of work. She grabs the nearest taxi and goes straight home. And when she gets there, her daughter's not there. She's been taken to a Buddha house, a traditional healer, and nobody is telling her which Buddha house. All the adults inside the neighborhood, gone. The only person left in the neighborhood, if you will, is her landlord, Getnet. To give you some context from our Ethiopian researcher, a lot of people rent out a house in a fully fenced space. So inside of this fully gated yard is normally one big house where the landlord lives with typically their extended family. So it's not just like a nuclear family unit, maybe grandparents, maybe sisters, siblings of the landowners. And then nearby this big house, there's a few smaller 1 to 2 bedroom houses that are built onto the property that people can rent. It's kind of like detached guest houses that you can rent out of. Oftentimes, there's one bathroom that's a separate building that all the residents of all the individual houses use. It's kind of like a small 3-4 family community behind each fence. That's what I'm referring to when I say the neighbors, the neighborhood. But they're all
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities for more customization, more time, and more growth. Speed up your website copy with an AI text generator that delivers a consistent brand voice to every corner of your site. Unlimited unique visuals enhance every piece of content you create. Instantly transform any idea into an image right from the comfort of your platform. And win back hours of hard work with AI-powered emails designed to perform. More conversions, less hassle. Smart benchmarks show you exactly where you stand in the market. See what's working and what needs work so you can quickly spot your next opportunity and take your business where you want to go. Oh, and we're just getting started. Go to Wix.com and make it happen.
I'm Noel Honig, and I'm a director and a designer. If I'm working with type in Photoshop, the properties panel shows all of the exact same properties that it would when I import that same type and bring it into After Effects. People who are used to working in Photoshop see that in After Effects and it looks familiar. There's just a lot of cross-application similarities that I find makes learning the software and using the software just a lot easier.
Typically relatives of Getnet.
They're all kind of connected.
Yes. Now, she's trying to ask Getnet, because he's the only one left behind, the landlord, what the hell is going on? Where are your sisters? Where is your wife? Where is my daughter? Where is Heaven? Within a few hours, slowly, little bits and pieces start unraveling, and Heaven's mom will find herself in another hospital room witnessing her 7-year-old daughter's autopsy. Heaven's mom was told that her little girl had fallen from a wooden bar that she was swinging off of because kids like to do what kids do, you know, things that could potentially hurt them. There was no adult around directly supervising. She got hurt and she passed away. It's a freak accident, if you will. But as Heaven's mom, a nurse, is sitting in through this autopsy, she knows that they're all lying to her. Every single one of them, every single one of her neighbors, every single one of the adults, every single one of the people she trusted with her kids, she doesn't believe a single word out of their mouths. If she fell from a wooden bar swing, would she have fractured bones? Yes. Would she have a broken bone? Probably. Would she have fractures to her skull if it killed her from the fall? But instead, she has these strange cuts that are all over her body that are almost too identical in depth and length, like someone had done it themselves. There's only one single droplet of blood on her. And just a brief content warning here, please be aware that Heaven's autopsy results are incredibly disturbing. It is very clear from the get-go that Heaven did not pass from a fall. She has extensive injuries. Her cause of death appears to be strangulation. There are finger markings around her neck, embedded in her neck. You can almost see someone's handprint. The muscles around her private areas were all torn. You cannot explain that from a fall. There is extensive physical trauma to her private parts. Had she not been strangled to death, she likely would have died from her injuries to her private parts. In an interview with her mother, she describes the true condition of her daughter's body. She states that the tearing on her daughter's private parts were so bad to the extent that, quote, only her spinal cord is visible and her uterus cannot be seen.
እና ተኝታ ስክሪን ሁለቱን የተጠቀመው አየው ማህፀኗ ጀርባችን ያለው አጥንት ስጋ ብቻ ነው የሚታየው አየው ማህፀኗ የለም ፍንዲጧንም ተመሳሳይ ደም ለብሷን ዙሪያው በሙሉ ልጄ ግድያ ብቻ አይደለም የተፈጸመባት ግድያ ብቻ አይደለም በአሰቃቂ ሁኔታ ደፍሮ እንዳትጮህበት የሱ አስነዋሪ አጸያፊ ነውር በአደባባይ እንዳይታይ እንዳይሰማበት አፋን ባሽዋ ሞላት ልጄ ስንት መስዋዕት ከፍዬ ያሳደግ ልጄ ደረሰችልኝ ብዬ በጉጉት አይኔኗን ያየው ጓደኛዬን አደረስ ልጄ ለሰለበር መኖር ዛሬ ነኝ በሽተኛ ሆኛለሁ ለዛውም ስንት ግፍ ስንት ማስፈራሪያ እየደረሰብኝ
If you are someone like me without kids or you're not around children frequently, Heaven is described as being a very small 7-year-old, about the size of a kindergartner. They're typically not even 4 feet tall yet at this point. Who would do something like that to this tiny little girl? Heaven's mom realizes pretty on that every single person in the neighborhood is lying. She did not fall. This is not an accident. She was essayed and she was murdered viciously. So she starts running through the possibilities in her mind of who could have done this. And the only person she really spoke to after getting back to the neighborhood was Getnet, her landlord. Heaven's mom remembered asking Getnet over and over, what happened? What happened? Please, where is she? What happened? And he's obviously acting strange. He refuses to answer. In fact, he could barely keep eye contact with her. He just stares into the void. He's sitting on his couch, not responding. It's so weird. When she kept asking him, did you see something? What did you see? I mean, you're like one of the only adults on the property at the time. He just kept saying, what? Huh? And refusing to answer. She looks down and she sees that his hands keep going in and out of his pockets. Like he's sweating, like he's fidgeting, he's hiding something. At this point, Heaven's body had already been taken to the Buddha house. Heaven's mom is demanding Getnet the landlord, take her there. Which one? Your sisters took her, so you must know. You are here. It's not like you just got home. Your sisters took her to the Buddha house. Finally, he's like, okay, I will take you to the Buddha house. And before he gets into the taxi, he grabs a gabi to wear. Now, from what I'm told, a gabi is like a white cloak that many wear to attend funerals. Nobody had even given confirmation that Heaven was dead yet.
Like he's going to Heaven's funeral right now?
Yeah.
Is the energy?
Yeah, like he's like, okay, she's dead. Let me grab this. But Heaven's mom has no idea what even happened. She just had word that she's sick. Why are you grabbing funeral attire?
Right.
She's so confused by this. It's like he knew before anybody else knew. Even later, when they get to the Buddha house, they eventually rush Heaven to the hospital. Doctors reported that Getnet was acting very strangely. He wasn't crying at all, which that alone isn't the most alarming thing in the world. But at one point, he tries to sneak into the autopsy room. He gets caught trying to sneak in. He gets kicked out. Then he retreats into the bathroom. Now, at this point, the doctors are like, this guy is very strange. We need to figure out what's going on with this guy. They listen through the cracks of the bathroom wall. And for some reason, they're alarmed enough to even call the police. They push their ear up to the hole and they hear him, Getnet, the landlord, the only adult present during the time, on the phone saying, I'm at the hospital right now. Yeah, my neighbor's kid was R-worded and murdered. They haven't performed the autopsy yet.
So when they brought the kid into the hospital, the doctor obviously know what's going on.
The only thing the doctors are told is that she fell. She fell. So the doctors are like, okay, well, we got to perform an autopsy. It's a little bit strange, but they haven't performed an autopsy. They're not coming to a conclusion, but they catch him sneaking into the autopsy room. Very strange. They listen to him, and then he's like, she's been R-worded, but they don't know that information yet. How does he know that information?
Right.
So at this point, all everyone had said about Heaven was she had fallen and she had passed. How would he know that she had been R-worded? Once they search his place, they go and they search his house, they find Heaven's other shoe inside his house. There would be no reason for her shoe, the one shoe that's missing, the ones that she was wearing that day. She only had one shoe on her foot. The other was in his house. There would be no reason for that. Heaven's mom had lived next door to him for 2 years. She had known the entire family for 2 years. The man in the bathroom, Getnet, is Heaven's mom's landlord. And not even that, the man's wife is someone that Heaven's mom had known since she was in school, like primary school. She's known this woman for most of her life. She's one of the main reasons that Heaven's mom was like, you know what? I'm going to rent this house specifically. So it's well known in Ethiopia that a lot of parents will rent these guest houses, if you will, on this bigger property. The bigger property is completely fenced in. And as long as one adult is home on the entire property, the other adults will go to work.
Right.
So it's kind of like a safe space environment, a gated neighborhood for the kids to play with each other. And it's not like each house needs to have an adult present.
Yeah.
Typically, it's one adult for maybe 3-4 families. So she rented this place because she wanted to make sure the environment was safe for her daughters. Now, Getnet and his family, they have 3 children. They have children Heaven's age. She said, I saw him as a brother. I lived there because I felt a sense of ease there with him. He and his family are the only ones I trusted enough to move into their property. Not that it really matters if this was premeditated or not, because he deserves the harshest punishment regardless, but it's pretty evident that he went out of his way to plot out this crime. Heaven's mom said in an interview, he was waiting. We just didn't know he was waiting. When his wife left, because his wife is a stay-at-home wife, but his wife left because I think one of her siblings was getting a checkup at the hospital for a pregnancy. He was the only one left with the kids. He's in the house most of the time because he doesn't have a job either. So after his wife and I left, our children start playing outside together, and that's what my sister told me. So Heaven's mom's sister is home, but she's 15. So she's a child, right?
Heaven's mom.
Don't skip ahead here. Skip ahead here to your dream school with the Duolingo English test. Get your language score in just 2 days.
Sister is 15.
So this is Heaven's aunt. This is the 15-year-old that her little sister comes. So Heaven has a little sister that's 3 years old. Heaven is 7, and then she has an aunt that's 15 that is staying with them.
So the aunt's technically a child as well.
Yes.
I see.
So GetNet is the only adult that's there, really. Now, she says, that's what my sister told me. Then Heaven came into the house because she said GetNet told all the kids to go home. So all the kids are playing in the yard, and GetNet is like, everybody just go into your homes, which is weird. Heaven goes into the house, according to Heaven's aunt, the 15-year-old. And at that point, she starts doing her homework and she realizes, oh, I need to go use the restroom. Now, remember how I said a lot of the houses are built? They share a common restroom in an outside building. It's like a separate little outhouse. Well, Heaven was taught to bring water to clean herself down there after she uses the restroom. So she has to get water from the 15-year-old. She tells her 15-year-old aunt, can I get some water for the restroom? She gives her the water. Heaven leaves and never comes back. GetNet has been presumably waiting for her, saying things like, hey, Heaven, come here. Can you help me with something? Now, this is not a strange man. This is their landlord, the man that she's seen for the past 2 years. I mean, the father of her friends. Heaven likely walks over to not be rude, and because nothing is alarming about this, but he snatches her, and he already had prepared this mixture in a water bottle. Sand, pebbles, and water. If you mix sand and water, it's basically cement. Even sand alone is difficult to get out of your mouth, but if you were to put sand, water, and pebbles, he forces her to drink this concoction. He forces it down her throat and stuffs her mouth full of it so that even if she screams, nobody can hear her. He brutally assaults her in what her mom describes as, quote, the front and back, to the point where he tears all of the muscles and there are extensive internal injuries. And the reason that I wasn't trying to be as specific is the internal injuries seem to be so bad that her mom states when you were to just peer inside from the autopsy, you cannot see her uterus. You can only see her spinal cord. Like, that's how extensive the internal injuries were. Afterwards, he takes her body, contorts her, shoves her into a bucket to wash away the evidence. There are reports that he likely mixed bleach into the bucket to clean up after his crime, to get rid of any forensic evidence on Heaven's body. In the process of trying to get rid of evidence, he goes and grabs a washcloth. So a lot of people, especially even in Korea, they will wash washcloths and then hang them outside to dry. He grabs a washcloth that Heaven's mom had left outside to dry, and he wipes down Heaven's body with it. He puts her clothes back on, takes a razor blade and starts making cuts all over her body as if to make it appear that she was scratched by branches after falling. He even sets up a scarf around that wooden bar to make it seem like she was swinging on the wooden bar and fell, and she scraped herself as she fell.
And what is the scarf for?
So they said that the kids would hang the scarf and then take the loose ends of the scarf and swing back and forth. The final sick touch is, this is almost directly in front of her mom's doorstep, just waiting to be found. The only part of his plan that does not go accordingly is he had forgotten one of her shoes that was the one tiny shoe that's left behind in his house. This is how he is caught. GetNet, the landlord, is the killer. The police throw him into jail. But after 3 days, his jail cell empty. He escapes. The police tell Heaven's mom, I mean, it's pretty clear that he did it, we're pretty certain he's the one that did it. You're right. But he escaped, and we recommend that maybe you flee. Maybe you leave, honestly. What? Yeah, he mentioned that he wanted to kill you. They do not provide her any assistance or protection. Like, they make it very clear, hey, this is your problem. He told us that he wants to kill you, and we're not going to do anything about it. At first, Getnek and his family, they would send people to talk.
Oh, hey. Gat or Flat. Welcome back. So I just saw your message now. Yeah, I'm just doing a rough sketch. We're about to finish up here. But hopefully the next stream I can get into the clean line artwork and fully color it. But welcome back.
Talk to Heaven's mom, which according to our Ethiopian researcher, they said, and this is very common, that if you have some sort of misunderstanding, especially between multiple families or different adults or a big fight with someone, you're going to send third parties to try and diffuse the situation first. A peacemaker that can facilitate both parties coming together. He just wants her to drop the case, drop the charges, move on. But Heaven's mom refuses. I mean, how can people even stand by him? How can they even come to her doorstep and be like, you got to forgive this man? It is so clear that his sisters, his wife, they know what he did, but they're standing by him. They keep trying to tell Heaven's mom this is a big misunderstanding. The fact that Heaven's body was washed was not because Getnet was trying to get rid of evidence. No, it's because at the Buddha house, we were there with her, they poured holy water on her. You know, we were just trying to save her. We were pouring holy water on her.
What?
Because Heaven's mom is saying, look, this man washed Heaven's body of the evidence. There would be probably more evidence had he not washed her. And they're saying, he didn't wash her. Nobody washed her to get rid of evidence. No, that's holy water that we poured on her to save her. And the sand in her mouth? I mean, have you heard of Mnet? Mnet is usually some sort of, it's a real thing, sand, ash, or crushed granite that is taken from a holy place. And it's placed or smeared onto one's body. Usually you only smear it on the parts that are in pain. So if you sprain your wrist, a traditional Ethiopian healer might apply this to your wrist where you feel the pain, and it's almost like a dark brown clay-like appearance. Then you pray, and then you will typically feel healed. They start arguing that the sand or the cement found inside of Heaven's mouth is just that, healing clay. But nobody ever consumes healing clay. If someone were to fall off a wooden bar or a tree, the last place you would imagine all their pain is in their mouth. You might smear it on their head or their face or their skull. Why inside the mouth? Like, how do you explain that?
So these are the killer's family members.
Yes.
And they're arguing for the killer.
Yes. They're arguing all sorts of crazy things for him. I mean, it's like the most ridiculous stuff. Getnek's relative explained that she's like, I'm the one that did that. His sister is like, I did that. I put it inside Heaven's mouth because, quote, I know it's sand, but every morning I mix it with water for my children to drink. Because they're like, why would you put it in her mouth? And she said, because I make my children drink it. And they ask, well, does it melt when you mix it with water? She responds, you put your faith in God. That's how you live. That's why I have Mnet in my house always. I did the same thing for her that I do for my children. That is all. She's not even answering the question. Mm-hmm. I mean, none of this makes sense. Everyone who uses Mnet is like, what are you saying? This doesn't even make sense. Like, if I saw a kid that was laying there, I would not shove Mnet into her mouth. The twisted part of all of this is that Heaven's mom believes that they took Heaven to the Buddha house for the purpose of getting rid of more evidence and trying to come up with explanations for the evidence that they couldn't get rid of. So I'm sure that they scooped out as much of the sand and cement in her mouth as possible, but there's remaining. You can't get it all out. And of course they're going to find it in the autopsy. So they're taking her to this traditional Buddha house to be like, of course we did these traditional actions to try and save her. If I have to write an email on my own with no help, I can honestly tell you that I will overthink it. My biggest worry is that my tone will be completely off from how I wanted it to sound Like, I never want to sound rude or angry, and I'll read it over 50 times just to make sure that never happens. But then I end up sounding way too nice. Like, hey, please come step all over me because I have no boundaries. So it's finding the perfect middle, which was why writing an email used to take me forever. But Grammarly saves me so much time. My favorite thing about Grammarly is that it helps me find the right tone for my email. They'll suggest better wording and even personalize my writing based on the type of person I'm writing to and the context of my message. I never have to worry about, is my writing being unclear? Because Grammarly makes sure my email is clear and concise the first time, meaning I can cut down on the unnecessary back and forth. Grammarly helps me stay focused and even helps with my writing by giving me relevant and real-time suggestions. I also know that my data is safe with Grammarly because they have enterprise-grade security, meaning your data is always secure and never sold. Grammarly literally saves me so much time because I don't need to spend hours on drafting. They fix any spelling mistakes and include any punctuation that I miss. And on top of that, Grammarly works across more than 500,000 apps and websites, meaning they're here to help wherever you need help. And it's not just me who loves Grammarly. 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. It's why they've been around for 15 years, because they're just that good at helping professionals do more with their writing. Get more done with Grammarly. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast. The thing I hate the most about shopping isn't the shopping itself. It's the dressing room. I feel like stores have a vendetta against their customers because why do they set up their dressing rooms like that? I swear the mirrors make me look a little bit weirder. The weird white light makes my skin look sickly pale. If you want to feel bad about yourself, I feel like I just go to a dressing room. That's why I often have to buy the clothes and bring them home to see if I like the way they fit, or I can pair them with other shoes. I can try to look at it in different lightings, which is such a hassle because then you go to the store, you come back, and then online shopping is just as bad because every time I try to buy something, they never have my size, or I get it and I'm like, okay, that was actually not my style at all. It's gotten to the point where shopping just isn't fun, except with Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix has honestly taken all the chore out of shopping for me because it pretty much does it for me. Signing up for Stitch Fix is so easy. They gave me my own personal stylist, and all I had to do was give them my size, style, and budget, as well as preferences. I can order boxes when I want and how I want because there's no subscription required. My stylist will send me pieces just for me and outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what I love and I send the rest back. I think all of my favorite pieces have been from Stitch Fix because my stylist is just that good. And recently, well, not recently, but I did get my color analysis done. And ever since then, I sent her the results of that. And I feel like she always picks the colors now that works with my color analysis. Like this light blue color is on my color theory. And on top of that, I don't have to deal with stores, the weird dressing rooms, or even the disappointment of not finding my size online because Stitch Fix makes it so easy. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/rotten. That's stitchfix.com/rotten. Anytime GetNet's wife or his family are questioned about heaven and what happened to her, his wife has this bizarre smile on her face. It's like a smirk. Anytime the interviewer is talking about, well, Heaven's mom said that she's like sitting there and you can see her. That's the sound I want to make when I see her face. That's what I imagine the noise is. Like very like, well, she's dumb. Like that's the face.
ዓለም ይፍረደኝ ብላ ያሳየችን ፎቶ ነው። ይሄ ገላ አሁን ያሳየውሽ ይሄ ገላ የሷ ነው ወይስ አይደለም? ቀይ ስለምታውቂያት 2 ዓመት አብራሻት ነው ሻት
Even if she truly believes her husband is innocent, which I find very questionable, but even if she truly believes he's innocent, then why would she be smirking? I think regardless, a child is dead. It's very unfortunate. It's not a time to be acting like a school bully. She also claims that the pictures Heaven's mom has posted of her daughter. So there are some, I don't know how deep into the research you'll find it, but there are some pretty graphic photos of Heaven out there that we're not posting. Heaven's mom had posted parts of her body to prove to the world this is what happened because people were not believing her. There were people saying, well, you don't have proof. You're just doing these interviews, crying and saying these things. So she had to go out of her way to post these photos to say, why is nobody listening to me? I'm telling you, this is what happened and we need to do something about it. And the wife just says, these are not human pictures.
ኧረ እንደው ምንም አይነት እሷን የሚገልጽ ነገር የለውም ሲጀመር ቆም ብሎ ህዝቡም እኮ ቢያየው እኔ እንጃ እሱ እኔ ምንም ነገር እሷ የእሷ እንዳልሆነ ነው የምነግርህ።
Basically saying, I don't know what that is. Her mom is claiming it's her uterus, but it doesn't look human, so I don't know what she's trying to prove. Accusing Heaven's mom of taking like an animal organ and posting a picture of it. At one point, she's like, that picture doesn't even look like Heaven. And the interviewer is very confused by that statement. She says, that picture does not look like Heaven. The interviewer points out, I just showed you a picture of only Heaven's private areas.
ማህፀኗ ብቻ ነው ብዬ ነው ይሄ ፎቶ።
ጭራሽ ምንም አይነት ነገር እሱ
How do you know that's not Heaven? Like her face isn't even in the picture. What are you talking about? Like I'm showing you truly just private areas to show you the extent of the damage and you're saying that's not Heaven? It's really weird. How are you so confident it's not her when I just showed you her private areas? She just smirks and says, for me, it's just that doesn't look right at all. What does that even mean? She just keeps insisting, I am here to, she does interviews, I am here to share the truth. Heaven's mom is not telling the truth. I have never been on media before, but now here I am because what is being spread are lies and it's hurting me. She also states that she hopes people will stop pointing fingers. I saw this on TikTok. Maybe it originates in Ethiopia and became a TikTok thing after, or perhaps she saw it on TikTok too. But she says, when you point the finger, just remember 3 fingers are pointing back at you. So this could happen to you tomorrow. She's trying to argue that your husband could be, quote, falsely accused of R-wording and killing a child tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, like, no.
Wow.
Even when the interviewer tells her a 7-year-old is not like an egg, she cannot swing from a bar that's about adult height and just die. They take her. They take Getnet's wife and the family to the house again. And Getnet's wife is trying to explain, oh, this is the bar that she fell off of. But when the interviewer starts asking technical questions of like, okay, so she's hanging from this height, she starts getting very flustered. The wife tries to explain she likely hit her head on this rock right here. And she points at a rock. But that doesn't make sense either. There's no signs of a concussion or a skull fracture or even head bleeding. So what are you talking about? On top of that, if they're trying to say that the kids were known to swing their scarves off this bar, that means the height at which she would have fallen from is about hip length of an adult, actually. Because if they use their scarves, that makes it even lower.
Yeah.
You're telling me a 7-year-old falls from hip height and just dies almost instantly? I mean, never say never. I'm sure maybe there have been freak accidents where it has happened, but this just seems, I mean, the odds of that happening seem slim to none, especially if you consider in all of her other injuries, it just doesn't make sense. How do you explain the sand in her mouth, the suffocating, the clear fingerprints around her neck, the essay? Her response is, well, only God knows the reason for that. Which then starts changing into, well, only God knows how she fell. Because he starts asking, you're saying this? She fell from here and what? And she goes, only God knows how she fell. It could have just been her time. I don't know what hit her or where, but that's how the kid, Heaven's little sister, found her and told the police. As for Getnet's very weird behavior after Heaven's body is found, she justifies it by saying, well, my husband, you know, men grieve differently. Fathers grieve in different ways than mothers do. She states that it's very frustrating that the public perception of what happened is different from the truth. She said that every time she sees Heaven's mom starts screaming and yelling that they're Heaven's killers. And she says, we never say anything back to her because we understand that she is a mother who lost her child. We try to be understanding of her pain. I will say this today, tomorrow, and I will keep saying it. That girl was not R-worded. She did not die because she was R-worded. She fell and she died.
How does she expect anyone to believe anything she says?
I truly don't know.
Do people believe her though?
No, the interviewer even asks her, you're on this like social media campaign trying to get people to believe you. Do you think you're doing a good job?
Yeah.
And she ignores the question. She's just like, I mean, this is the truth. The interviewer is like, are you proud of what you're doing? Like, do you feel like people are listening to you? And she's like, well, this is the truth. I'm here to speak my truth. It takes a full month for Getnet to be rearrested, which it's not like he was hiding in plain sight. It's not like he was hiding at all. He went after Heaven's mom with a gun. Chances are, if the police found Heaven's mom, you would have found him lurking nearby. So why does it take a month to arrest this man? It seems like they just don't care. Another element of disgust here is that the sisters also live on the property, right? Heaven's mom said some of them were home that day. They were actually home. There's no way that they didn't hear anything that he did. She said the walls are so thin that oftentimes you can hear people making coffee and having coffee time in the mornings. They live really close to him and their place has really thin walls. So now, I mean, how can they tell the police she's lying? Heaven's mom has no idea what she's talking about. All the police decide they want to drop this case. They just don't care for it. One of the police officers also happens to have ties to GetNet. Heaven's mom states that all the evidence has been covered up by GetNet's family and that the only cop, that one cop, they refuse to even look for the bucket. Because they're like, I know that he washed Heaven's body in a bucket to get rid of the evidence. There's a bottle filled with sand somewhere. They refuse to look for it. GetNet's children would tell Heaven's mom, actually, our dad asked us to clean up blood using bleach that day, and we did. But police won't listen to the kids. They won't listen to Heaven's mom. They just keep telling her, stop blabbing such nonsense. Everybody knows that she died because she fell. There was only one female cop that believed Heaven's mom. She's the only one that did not want to close this case. She was getting pressure from all the sides to drop it. The next time Heaven's mom visits the police station, the female officer is suddenly giving her the cold shoulder. And she's like, what's wrong? Did I do something? I only ever tried to help you. She's so confused. What are you talking about? I know, and I've been so grateful. The officer tells her, I heard what you've been going around saying, bad-mouthing me to people. And she just storms off. People are trying to turn these two women against each other, and it's apparently working. So now Heaven's mom is completely on her own. Every time she tries to bring the hospital records to the investigating teams to show them, see, this isn't on an accident. The hospital said that she was essayed. They would conveniently lose the report or tell her it wasn't enough. They need more. Also, they said it's the hospital that you worked at. So there could be a lot of bias. They could be lying. You could have told them, the doctors, what to write on the autopsy. I mean, what does she gain from it? That's the crazy thing. So there are people who doubt her story. They think that there's no proof. She's just going on these interviews and claiming this is what happened. But it doesn't make sense. What does she gain from this? Because there are so many more people that want to kill her. There are people online that are writing they should have R-worded the mom too. So all of this is
Twix is like cookie in disguise.
Imagine one of our gang was in disguise.
Delicious.
is happening, and she's getting stalked by GetNet's family members. She had to quit her job. She worked as a nurse for 7 years, and now her whole career is gone, and she just can't risk her life for it. She has no resources. Nobody's on her side. She eventually got a job at the bank as a custodian because all the cameras, the security officials there, maybe that would be safer. 4 months into the job, a bunch of people come, GetNet's family members and other young men try to kidnap her. Yeah.
And what happened after? Like,
She just had to quit and nobody cared.
She quit the bank as well?
Yeah. So she's constantly just bouncing around looking for jobs while trying to get justice for her daughter. So every time they find her, she gets a new job because it's not even just, hey, drop the charges. Right now, there's people telling her that she deserves to be R-worded, that this is her fault.
Why?
Yeah, they think it's her fault because she left her kid at home. And they also think it's her fault because she decided to have a kid in these times.
What?
Yeah, it gets crazier. I will read you some of the netizen comments. Now, finally, after a month, he's rearrested. He's tried for his crimes. August 1st, 2023, GetNet is sentenced to 25 years in prison. 25 years. What's wild is even that after he's proven guilty and sentenced to 25 years, people are blaming the mom. They're saying it's been a year already. People need to let this go. Some people are commenting, it's the mother's fault for bringing a child into this world during unsafe times. The mother should also be essayed. The child deserved it. Who told her to give birth to a daughter first? Heaven's mom, she's not arguing, but she's trying to explain the situation. And she says, as I told you, I work almost 24 hours and I raise my children alone. I have no family to support me. I am from the rural province and I got to where I am on my own. She also supports her younger sister's education, the 15-year-old. It's not like she's gone from the home so she can avoid responsibilities and avoid the kids. She basically lives her whole life working to support her family, and yet people are trying to blame her for what he did.
ልትረሳው አትችልም። በጣም ከባድ ነው። አብሶ እንደዚህ ስቃዩ ይመጣብኛል፣ ይጮህብኛልና ሰው በቃ አንቺ እንደዚህ አትረሺውም ነው። ከባድ ነው። ደርሶብህ ያየ ሰው ነው ይህን ስሜት ሊነግርህ የሚችልና እንደሌላው አይደለም። የልጅ ሐዘን በጣም ከባድ ነው። አንድ ቀን ታማታቀም ልጅን ድንገት ነው ያጣዋት። ያውም በእግዚአብሔር አይደለም፣ ባሰቃቂ ሁኔታ ምንም በደል የሌለባት ምንም ኃጢአት የሌለባት ያጣዋትና
She says, I made a lot of sacrifices to raise my daughter. At least if they killed me because of my sins, it would be better. But what could a child ever have done to deserve this? They haven't even started life yet. There is no law in sight. Who do I scream to? This is not enough. There needs to be more harsh sentences. If there were, you wouldn't hear about such crimes happening. But aside from that, even though she did what she could, she still feels a lot of guilt. She said that part of why she quit as a nurse was, yes, because she was being stalked by Getnet and his family, but also she still has another daughter that's 3. And she felt this guilt ever since Heaven's murder, because all these people are saying it's her fault. That if she hadn't been working, if she wasn't always at the hospital, she could have maybe protected Heaven. Most people with hearts, souls, brains are supporting Heaven's mom. Some netizen comments read, there are times that make me hate being a human being. Instead of asking us to hide our daughters, keep your sons in check. I am a mother too. I have a daughter. Now I have to live in fear. This monster needs to be castrated. Another reads, you know what? I think the man should be free. I think they should free the killer. Free the man and give him to us. You see what we'll do to him. Some netizens are more straightforward, writing, just kill him. Kill him, kill him, kill him. These people haven't stopped. Heaven's mother needs protection. The law needs to protect her. Many of them want further punishment for not just Getnet, but also his wife and sisters. Arrest his wife too. She's an accomplice. I don't think that she realizes what's coming out of her own mouth. What kind of person is his wife? Doesn't she have children of her own? Another reads, it's very obvious she rehearsed everything she needs to say. You ask one question and she doesn't know how to respond. What surprises me is that she also has children. She doesn't even show remorse for Heaven. She, the wife, needs to be sentenced to 25 years and her husband needs to be sentenced to death. To give you further context, here are some wild things his wife has said. Why are people accusing my husband? It's not like he was caught in the act. They have no proof. My husband is not the type to R-word or do that sort of thing. If he were an R-worder, he would have raped the 15-year-old nanny that we have living in the house. To that, someone writes, may God judge the barbaric people who are accomplices of this beast. Be brave, Heaven's mother. God bless you. This is news in 2024 because Getnet and his attorneys are now appealing his sentence, stating that it was too harsh. Heaven's mom said, we should be the ones to appeal because 25 years is not enough. She was just a little girl. He not only killed her, he tortured her, he R-worded her. The act is horrific. 25 years is not too harsh. 25 years is not enough. Look at how he's doing in prison. He's sentenced to 25 years, but he is fine. He's laying in prison, being fed. Men who are essaying and killing children are just happily eating food provided by the government and living happily. She said she has very low hopes for justice. During this appeal, she said, from what I've observed, they might be successful in getting him out of prison. We don't know yet, and it's not looking good. They are not treating us or our case like they should, and it's heartbreaking to see how it's being handled. He might not even stay in jail for that long. Which is wild, considering many people don't even believe that this is his first time committing a crime. It's his first time getting caught. According to locals, there have been stories circulating afterwards that he might have been responsible for 2 other children's deaths. And both times he was a suspect, but the families could not prove it. There was nothing to prove. Heaven's mom states, what hurts most is the support around him. I was told that I'm nothing but dirt. He has contacts, he has connections all around. He can pay people off. Me, I'm a poor mom and I have no power. Every time she shows up to court during the appeal, they treat her, the court, and even the perpetrator's family, they treat her like she's the offender, like she's the one that needs to be put on trial. On one occasion, he was being escorted out of the courtroom and he turns his body to her and he says, do you think I won't get out, you bitch? Heaven's mom was so startled and terrified, but also so angry, and he just keeps going. You daughter of a whore, you think I'm not gonna get out?
Nothing brings a family together like Black Diamond, Canada's #1 most trusted cheddar cheese brand.
Finally, Heaven's mom collects herself, and in a controlled, contained tone, she tells him bluntly, even if I am just a woman, even if I cannot get justice here, I will never allow you to live on the outside. But the female guard hears, walks over, looks at Getnet, looks at Heaven's mom. You will be jailed unless you stay silent. She's talking to Heaven's mom. Jail me then. Do it. It's not like anything happened to him in jail. He gets to lay down and get fed. If you have the power to arrest me, do it now. I am the mother who lost her precious daughter. What happened to him? Did you not hear him insulting me? So she asked the guard that. And she responds, yes, I did, but he's under the protection of the law. So I should stay silent? Well, you also have children, don't you? Should this happen to you too then? Eventually, the female guard tells Getnet to also be silent before walking off. Heaven's mom said, why is there no death sentence in our country? Is it because our children are not our country's children? Can they not see mother's tears? What if their children were killed in such a gruesome way? What would they do then? This is a small girl that was R-worded and murdered by a man. The judgment should set the example for these crimes. Otherwise, where will we go? Where will the mothers and children go? It's not like we have another country. It's not like we can flee somewhere else. Who do we cry to? Who listens to us? If our children can't be safe in our homes, where else can we go? Should we stop working and spend all our time with our children? Then how can we feed our children? Only God is on our side now. Many advocacy groups have spoken out to state that they believe that the sentencing is way too light. The Ethiopian Women's Lawyer Association states, the murder itself should have been enough to sentence him to life imprisonment or to death. It's especially sickening and outrageous when such a horrendous crime is committed against children. It is unclear if that change is going to come soon, considering there was this organized candlelight vigil held for Heaven in the capital of Ethiopia. It was a peaceful gathering just for community members to come out and remember Heaven, honor Heaven, but also demand justice in a peaceful way. And Heaven is just one of the many cases that the advocates are pushing back against. Notably, an 11-year-old girl was essayed by her father. He received only 16 years in prison. A man strangled and essayed a 14-year-old girl. She passed away. He got 19 years. A 17-year-old essayed a 5-year-old girl. He got 6 months in prison. A 41-year-old man who essayed multiple little girls around the age of 8 was only given 10 years. So I would say, given all these cases, the community just holding a candlelight vigil is rather impressive considering everything going on. But of course, police officers forced their way into the crowd, forced them to break it up. It's been stated that police forced camera crew to delete their footage before letting them go. A prominent human rights attorney states, Heaven's death cannot be in vain. We must use this tragedy as a catalyst for change. The Ethiopian government must strengthen its child protection laws, ensure that justice is served in all cases of child abuse, and provide better support for victims and their families. One of Heaven's mom's biggest memories of Heaven is every time she would come home from work, Heaven would drop everything and run up to her and slam into her into this big hug. She would run so fast that Heaven's mom would almost topple over. And now Heaven's mom says, my daughter is dead. I am dead inside. I am just a dead woman walking.
ቤት ለመሄድ በጣም መጓጓ ለሷ ብዬ ነበር። በር ላይ ነው የምትጠብቀኝ። የሚገርም እማዬ ብላ ልታቅፈኝ። አሁን ክረምት ላይ ስመጣ ዝም ብዬ በሩ ከፈት አድርጌው እገባለሁ እና ትወድቃለች። ምን ሆነች ስላት እማዬ ብዬ ለማቀፍ ነው። ከዚህ በላይ ደስታ ብላል። እኔ ቁም ሬሳ ነው የገባ። በቁሜ ነው የተቀበርኩት። ልጄ አርፋለች።
Heaven would have turned 8 years old September 25th of this year. Heaven's mom said the worst part of all of this is, as a previous nurse, she knows that Heaven is not the only one. There are so many Heavens. So please check out the change.org petition linked in the description and stay safe. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.
The Kia Niro EV is complete with all the range and features to make daily life easier. Find your all-year drive in the Kia Niro EV.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Let us do the heavy lifting with Walmart grocery delivery.
Bada bing, bada boo.
Ophelia is a higher up at one of Italy's most powerful mafias, and she's got a thing for fingers. The way that Ophelia loves hands and fingers, the way that the fingers curve, especially when they're slightly slender. They almost feel fragile when Ophelia is holding them in her hands, like you could just snap a finger off, like a little carrot. When the fingers are slightly bent, the knuckles that softly curve. I mean, everything about hands just gets Ophelia going. She loves them. She loves hands. And
Bada bing, bada boo.
the couple are falling asleep to the noise of the train. It's almost hypnotic. This time, they had prioritized their comfort over being financially responsible. They booked the sleeper seats. Money well spent. I mean, their beds are tiny. They each get one right next to each other, but they're still out in the open. It's a 3-level bunk bed system. They have a row of people above them and a row of people below them. And their bunks are just out. Anyone passing through the aisle can see anybody that's on any of these bunk beds just falling asleep. But at least they can fully lay down and sleep the entire 11-hour ride back home. Gia, the wife, she shakes her husband awake. Husband Lee, L-I, slowly opens his eyes and he checks his phone. It's 1 a.m. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. Lee nods and he starts pulling the blanket off of him, but his wife stops him. Shh, it's okay. I'll be right back. She points down at the elderly people that are underneath them in the bunks below. I mean, if both of them, her and her husband, climb down from the middle bunk, there's a higher chance that the elderly couple are going to wake up. And look at them. They look like they're deep in sleep right now. There's no point in disturbing any of that. It's okay. I have my phone. I'm going to be right back. Lee, the husband, hesitates, but he just watches his wife climb down the bunk bed ladder and rushes off to the restroom. He glances out the window. It's pitch black outside. I mean, they must be crossing through a very rural area because there's no buildings. There's no light coming from outside the window at all. Just the noise of the train on the tracks. And then boom, the train shakes and Lee jumps awake. What was that? He must have fallen asleep and it must have been some sort of rock that hit the window or something. He rubs his eyes and he checks his phone. It's 1:30 a.m. He looks to his left and his wife is no longer in her bunk bed. It has been 30 minutes since she went off to use the restroom. She should be back by now. His mind starts racing because that's weird, right? He quickly puts on his shoes, climbs down the bunk bed ladder, walks to the restroom in their carriage, because, you know, each train has a carriage 13. It's empty. She's not in there. His heart starts pacing faster, but it's fine. I mean, calm down. This makes sense. Sometimes if the restroom in the carriage that you're in is busy, you go to the carriage over. So he runs over to carriage 14 and he slams the bathroom door open. It's empty. She's not in there. He does this with carriage 15 and as many restrooms as he can before he feels this intense panic, this tightening in his chest. He runs all the way to the train conductor's cabin and he starts banging on the door. The conductor opens it up, 1:30 a.m. He looks confused, stressed. Please, you have to help me, sir. My wife is missing. The train conductor looks at the husband for what feels like multiple seconds because I think he's just processing what he just said. And then slowly, his lips just turn into a smile. And he's smiling at husband Lee. What do you mean your wife is missing? That's impossible, sir. Nobody goes missing on a moving train. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Amputee Coalition of America. They have hundreds of support groups across the country as well as thousands of certified peer visitors available through their National Limb Loss Resource Center. For decades, they've supported, educated, and advocated for people impacted by limb loss or limb difference with the reassurance that they are not alone. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we would also like to thank our listeners for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Now, a few quick disclaimers before we begin. Today's case has a few graphic descriptions of physical violence, injuries, and amputations. So with that being said, let's get started. It doesn't matter if you want to stop. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. That is likely one of the very first things that all train conductors are taught. If you press the emergency brake right now, you will come to a complete full stop, probably from a mile from here. There is no immediate stopping a train. Imagine telling a swarm of 100 elephants to instantly stop running at full speed. It's not going to happen. And sometimes that means you watch disaster happen and know that there is absolutely nothing that you can do about it. That is the only thought going on in the train conductors' minds when they see a body on the middle of the tracks, wearing a thick winter coat, just laying there. Hurry, do something! They both know that there's nothing either of them can do. They pull the emergency brakes and stop a mile later. After 30 seconds, that's how long it takes to come to a complete stop. Hurry, somebody call the police, we gotta go! Everything is happening so fast but so slow at the same time. The way that the train hit and ran over the body in the winter coat was so quick and so subtle that they couldn't even visually see the body. It's likely they wouldn't even have noticed or felt it if they hadn't made eye contact. There was a train conductor who hit a cow once, a 1,000-pound plus cow, and they said it felt like when you're driving on the highway, a small bee hits your window, you kind of hear the sound, but you don't feel the whole car shake. It doesn't even dent your window. That's what it felt like. So of course, they didn't feel anything with the winter coat on the tracks. But now they're trying to head back as quickly as possible to check and see if everything is okay. Who is it? Why are they laying on the tracks in a giant puffy winter coat? What the hell is going on? They rush all the way back to this now blood-red soaked winter coat that looks completely mangled. And instead of a human, they see a deer. Dead. Someone had put a winter coat on a deer and laid it down on the tracks.
What?
This is the very strange life of a train conductor. You almost never know what to expect during your shift. It could be nothing, or it could be a nearly unsolvable mystery of why would somebody do that? But train conductor Zhao knows that this is not one of those instances. I mean, the only mystery is how not very intelligent this passenger is. What do you mean your wife is missing? She's missing, sir. She was with you on the train, and now she's not? That's what missing means. She's missing. You have to help me find her. Train conductor Zhang pauses and lets out a smile because this is probably going to be the least exhausting task of the day. The first logical place to search is the dining cart. It's right at the center of the train, and when you step in, the first thing you notice is the smell. And then the sound. All of the rattling sounds of the silverware and cups as the train moves along. It's just what you imagine the place to be. There's rows of tables and chairs along each side of the carriage. It's like a breakfast restaurant that sells pancakes, the ones that have those sticky syrup dispensers, but maybe a little bit nicer. The tables are covered with white linens, glass windows on both sides, and you can just see everything blurring past you. It's about 2 a.m., but there's somebody leaned up against the window, reading a newspaper, drinking a cup of hot coffee. He looks over his newspaper at Lee and the conductor and goes straight back to reading. This carriage is a relatively quick search. They check under each table, each deep red-colored booth, under them, under the ground, and as the conductor expected, no signs of Gia anywhere in the dining cart. She's probably in a restroom somewhere. Lee and the conductor, they start making their way over to the seating carriages. This train in particular has 18 carriages, 18 different compartments, if you will. 8 are for sitting and 8 are for sleeping. Those are excluding the dining carriage, storage carriages, the train conductor carriage. These are just the passenger areas. It's a big train. In total, the train can carry up to 1,500 people. They have a lot of square footage to cover during this search. They start with the hard seat carriages. Chinese seating carriages are typically split up into 3 different levels. The first is not even a seating carriage. You get to stand. For less than $1 for an 11-hour train ride, you have the joy of standing the entire trip. You can maybe sit on your luggage. You can maybe sit on the floor. Or if you're lucky, you can maybe sit on somebody's seat when they go use the restroom for about 2 seconds. But otherwise, you're on your 2 feet the entire way. The carriage with people standing are going to be a hard search because they're packed with people. It's not much different from trying to swim through a sardine can. You can't see anything but the person in front of you. Excuse us, excuse me. Gia, are you in here? Say something, Gia. She's not. They get to the hard seat carriages. You might as well be sitting on an uncomfortable park bench or a plank of wood at 90 degrees. Sometimes the people with the hard seat tickets will get up to use the restroom, and when they get back, they see a stander sitting in their spot. Oh, sorry, I have a standing ticket, but I did. Here, let me get up. It's okay. You can sit. You can sit. The hard seats are so uncomfortable, they start thinking, maybe I should have gotten a standing ticket. How is standing more comfortable than sitting? They go row by row of the hard seat carriages. Most people are knocked out dead asleep, head leaning up against the stranger next to them. I mean, they don't care. It's 2 a.m. They don't care about social etiquette. They just need to find a nice surface to lay their head down. The conductor is shining his bright flashlight at each of the faces. They're all squinting, using their arm to block the light. Hey, what are you? Sorry, my wife is missing. I'm looking for my wife. Gia. Then the two head over to the soft seat carriages. There are a bit less people in there. The seats are the ones that you would expect, cushiony, almost like an airplane seat. And as they're going through the aisles of the soft seating carriages, and the longer they can't find Gia, the more the train conductor and husband Lee feel confused. I mean, Gia's disappearance just doesn't even make sense. It's like a weird magic trick. You know how those magicians will make someone disappear on stage? There's no way it makes sense. People don't just disappear, but they're doing it on stage, so it really feels that way, doesn't it? If you just sit in the crowd, you turn your brain off, you have a really good time. The magician can do something that nobody else in the crowd can do. They can do magic. Poof, person here, person gone. But if you start thinking, if you really start thinking, where did they disappear to? You start getting some real answers, and it's never magic. Where the magician will put someone in a box, you can see that they barely fit in there. Box closes up. Magician starts stabbing swords into the box, and it makes you nervous that the person inside is getting stabbed. But then they take out the knives one by one, open the box back up, and the person is fine, unharmed. Usually, it's a false bottom. There's a hidden trapdoor, a compartment underneath them that they hide in, or maybe a trapdoor behind them. Because even now, the conductor knows nobody just disappears on a moving train. There is no such thing as magic. People don't just vanish without a trace. And as they're going carriage by carriage, the conductor is flashing the light into each row, each face to verify that none of them are the missing wife, Gia. Lee, the husband, is glued to his phone. You know what? The whole thing is a little suspicious. Why didn't Lee go to the restroom with his wife? It's 1 a.m. on a train. Wouldn't you want to make sure that your wife gets to the restroom safely? And even if he didn't escort his wife to the restroom, how could he just fall back asleep? He couldn't wait 5 minutes for his wife to get back before going back to snoring. He fell asleep and only woke up a full 30 minutes later when the train jerked to the side. Interesting. Because the train conductor knows people do not go missing from moving trains, it means that it's more likely a situation where somebody harmed the wife. And statistically speaking, it's always the husband, is it not? Okay, to be fair, it's not always the husband, but there's a good chance that it is. And would this not be the perfect place to commit the perfect crime? Wait till the train is passing a very difficult to search area, perhaps on the edge of a mountainside cliff. When the perfect opportunity comes, you kill your wife, throw her out the door, say she's missing, you've already gotten rid of her body, and any one of the 1,000 people on the train could be a suspect by the time that anyone realizes that your wife is truly missing and this is an emergency situation. By that point, the train would be very far from her body. It would be such a puzzling mystery, and you would be the sad, confused husband who never gets closure. It's almost too perfect. Or if that's too risky, maybe he hid his wife's body. Perhaps the hiding locations on the train that come to mind first are the most dangerous ones. Underneath the train, or on top of the train, or maybe the storage carriage hiding amongst the cargo. But it would be nearly physically impossible for Lee to hide his wife's body in one of those areas. And now that the train conductor is looking at it, husband Lee does seem genuinely frantic to find his wife. He's been on his phone nonstop, calling her nonstop, trying to see if her phone would ring in any of the carriages. Gia, the wife, can hear her husband calling her phone nonstop. It's ringing again and again, and there's probably not even 2 seconds it hadn't been ringing in the past God knows how long. She knows it's her husband because she had set his ringtone to a custom one, and now it's just painful to listen to. Gia's laying there, not moving towards her phone. She knows it would mean a lot to her husband if she could just pick up the phone and tell him where she is, what happened, or maybe even why. Maybe he could get some semblance of closure in that way. But she's not going to pick up the phone. Not yet, anyway. So he's just going to have to wait, doesn't he? She can't come to the phone right now. The train conductor is looking at Lee, making nonstop phone calls to his wife, which maybe she can't come to the phone right now, and maybe she can't be found on this train because she was never on the train to begin with. Are we even sure that husband Lee got on the train with his wife? Her purse is conveniently missing because she took it with her, but maybe she never got on the train. That seems like a logical explanation to all of this than vanishing on a moving train. I mean, think about it. There's over 1,000 people on this train right now. What are the odds that at least one of them has lost their minds? Maybe husband Lee just genuinely believes that she was on this train with him, that she boarded with him, but he's traveling alone. There was a movie called Flight Plan that came out a few years before this incident. Have you heard of the movie?
No.
It goes like this. A woman named Kyle, who happens to be an airline engineer, she boards a flight from Berlin to the US with her little daughter, Julia. It is a very rough trip for the both of them. They flew to Berlin to claim Kyle's dead husband's body. Yeah, the husband died. He's mysteriously dead. And now they're bringing his body in the plane cargo all the way back home to the United States.
How old is the baby?
The girl in the movie is maybe 7 years old.
Oh, okay.
Now, Kyle obviously is not in her right state of mind. She just lost her husband, the father of her child, Julia. So when the plane takes off, she decides to take some anti-anxiety medication. She ends up knocking out. When she wakes up, her daughter, Julia, is gone. Kyle starts freaking out. She alerts the flight crew, very much like how Lee alerts the train conductor, and they drop everything. Well, everything but flying the plane, of course. They drop everything to help her find her missing daughter. But slowly, Kyle can feel the flight crew. They're getting distracted. They're not trying to help her. They're not making eye contact with her. What the hell is wrong with you people? My child is missing. We have to find her. Ma'am, you boarded alone. Julia, your daughter, is not on the plane's manifest. She is not a passenger on the plane. No, that can't be true because your records are incorrect. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. They aren't. We spoke with the authorities in Berlin. Your child, Julia, died in Berlin with your husband. You must be in a state of shock and grief that your brain is not processing the information. You might be hallucinating. Kyle almost believes them until she sees a tiny heart that her daughter drew on the plane's window when it got fogged up. And now she's on a mission, on this plane, in the air, to prove that her daughter has been kidnapped on a plane, on a moving plane. In the end, at the end of the movie, Kyle is able to prove that her daughter was very much real and did board the plane.
What? Then why did they lie to her? Why did everyone lie to her?
It was a ransom. Shady people doing shady things, trying to frame her for ransom. But her daughter is very much real and very much on the plane. So the theory that husband Lee had just lost his mind and believed he boarded the train with his wife but didn't, it's quite easy to prove because he is able to show the train conductor his wife had a ticket and was seen boarding the train by the neighboring bunkmates. They all saw her before she went to the restroom, before they all fell asleep. So yes, she was on this train. And right before she went missing, they had been on the bunk asleep, and nobody has seen her since then. The train conductor and Lee start combing through the sleeping carriages once more. This is technically where Gia, the wife, was last seen, so they want to be extra thorough. This is her bunk, right? Yes. Huh, I see. On this very specific train, the K2011 Express, the bunk bed carriages, the sleeper carriages, if you will, have 6 beds per section. In each section, there are 3 rows of 2 small, tiny beds facing each other. The top, the highest 2 beds, they have the least amount of space. If you try to sit up, you're not going to be able to without crouching your neck or slamming your head on the top of the train. It is the brightest, which is one of the biggest setbacks. Even when the train turns down the lights at night, you're going to get the most light pollution since you're at the top. However, it's great because it's secluded.
My hair has always been straight, but with like a slight wave, a bit of frizz, some dried ends, which according to TikTok means naturally wavy hair that just isn't treated right. So I took the pros quiz and it told me my exact hair type and what products would help my hair lean into its natural form. My custom formula is perfect for slightly wavy hair. It's like definitely more moisturizing than straight hair products, so it gives me some nice like volume and shine, but it's not as heavy as curly hair products, so it doesn't like make it greasy and weigh it down. Just gives me like perfect natural waves that stay all day. I can't even think about how much time and money I would have spent on trial and error products in order to figure this out. Pros truly just handed me perfect hair on a silver platter. Okay, I'll stop. Try Pros though.
Passengers say if you bring a book or you bring your phone with full battery, because there's not a lot of outlets up there, that's the best bunk. Nobody's gonna bother you and you're out of the line of sight by people who walk down the aisle. Nobody's that tall. Then you have the middle bunk. It probably comes shoulder height to people who are walking past in the open aisles. So if you're wearing a dress, you'd do best to cover it with a blanket. It's great if you're a scenery person. It's the only bunk with good views out the window. You can't really sit up still, but you can lay there and stare out the window if that's what you're into. It's a little less private than the very top bunk since everybody walking past is, again, eye level with your body, just about. But it's easier to get in and out of than the top bunk. Then you have the very bottom bunk. It's actually the most spacious of the 3 levels, and it even has like a small, nice table on the side that you can use. You can also fully sit up straight, so the choice to sit or lay down is fully yours. It's also relatively dark since it's covered by the top 2 bunks, which, why wouldn't everybody choose the bottom bunk then? More space, the choice to sit or lay down, it's dimly lit, you have table space. The main drawback is a lot of strangers on these trains will just sit on random people's bottom bunks to sit and chat with each other. They could even, if they wanted to, snatch your belongings. Or perhaps even you. Husband Lee and Gia are not at the bottom bunk. They're in the middle. But maybe somebody saw Gia laying in the bunk and started having very bad thoughts. Maybe they thought that they could do something to her. Maybe she was kidnapped by a stranger on the train for very sinister reasons. But if that's the case, where are they hiding her? Gia is laying there. The floor is cold, but she knows she can't move. She's tried. Even if she wants to, it's not working. It feels like she's tied down to a bed of steel nails. If she had known this was going to happen, would she have still taken the same route back to her bunk bed from the restroom? Would she have even gone to the next carriage's restroom? Or would she have just waited in line to use the one closest to her? The one closest to her husband? I mean, if she did, would things be different? Probably. She probably wouldn't be in this situation right now. Everything would probably be different. And right now, nothing is going according to plan. But there's no time to think about that. She feels the blood dripping down the lower part of her body, and she starts screaming as loud as she can. Please, somebody help me. Someone help me, please. Honey. Husband Lee is slamming his fist on the bathroom door. He never had a chance to check this restroom for his wife. And now that he thinks about it, was this restroom locked since Gia first went missing? Everyone in carriage 11 is knocked out asleep, but Lee could not care less. He's banging on the door, screaming, Gia, are you in there? Gia, open up, please. It's me, Gia, open the door. Are you in there? Lee has all sorts of probabilities running through his mind. Gia's not great with motion. Maybe she got motion sick and fainted in the restroom, and now nobody can help her unless they get this damn door open. He starts jiggling the handle of the door, trying to use brute force to get it to open, and it's not opening, and the train attendant walks over and starts unlocking the door for Lee. Maybe he could see the desperation in Lee's face. Is anybody in there? Please speak now. We're going to unlock the door. We will be opening the door now. Please knock if you're not ready. Before the attendant can unlock the door from the outside with a key, they hear click. Someone is inside the restroom. They're unlocking the door. The door creaks open just a crack, and a middle-aged man, squeezes past the door and closes it behind him. As he walks away, he does not break eye contact with Lee. He just smirks as he zips up his pants. What the hell did he do something to his wife? Lee, his heart is beating out of his chest. He turns back to the bathroom door, slams it all the way open, and inside, on carriage 11, is a very normal bathroom. Gia is not there. 1,000 random strangers on the train. It's a numbers game. How many of them have bad intentions? Once the train is in motion, the passengers are isolated from the outside world. If there is a killer, if there is someone trying to do something nasty on board the train, you're stuck. You're trapped with them. And the scariest part is you don't even know who that would be. Adding to the confusing mystery is to harm Gia, to get rid of her body from the moving train, or to hide her body so thoroughly that the train conductor cannot find her. It would require some preparations, some planning. This does not seem like it would be a very easy random crime to commit. She's not exactly a prime target either. She's a 44-year-old mother who is traveling with her husband, works as a manager for a toothpaste company. It's not like they're very wealthy and have a lot of money for ransom or a lot of things to be stolen from. She's beautiful.
Alrighty, this is where I'm going to leave off for today. For Mrs. Elastigirl, aka Mrs. Incredible. Yeah, thanks for watching. In the next stream, I'm going to clean it up and do some more detail, and then we'll do like a fully render. So thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a good one. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon at Giovanni Hall Art. Hope you guys have a good one. See you in the next one. Bye.